Begin transmission. Hello, everybody. It is Chris, aka Starrapter, for episode 86 of Outer Rim Transmission. It's a big show this week because we got not one trailer to break down, but two. We have Jedi Survivor as well as Bad Batch Season 2, and maybe we'll even have some time to check out some leaked set photos from the Acolyte. I have some reinforcements joining me, along with Ben, along with Millen. I brought along Chris Seekell from the Star Wars Underworld and Culture Slate. How's it going, man? And welcome to Outer Rim Transmission.
Yeah, I believe this is the first time I've ever been on your show. It doesn't feel like it because you're usually on our show and have been so many times.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's you guys, like I always say, inspiration. You are the first person in the Star Wars fandom I ever met in person, technically, because at New York Comic Con, I think it was 2016 or something like that. It was a cool
it was almost
experience.
10 years ago. Like, what the
Oh
heck?
my gosh. That is a really scary thought right
Yeah.
there. Oh man. So before I bring in the other guys, let's just talk about what you're doing right now with Culture Slate. If you wanted to give any shout outs off the top of the show, just tell our listeners, our viewers, first off, what's Culture Slate about?
Yeah, so I've been in Star Wars fandom for well over 10 years now, running Facebook pages, Twitter accounts, doing podcasts, podcast networks, all of these things. I used to also run an online radio station called Channel 1138 that was pretty much all Star Wars talk. And the thing about it was really fun. But we wanted to take things to the next level. We wanted to move beyond Star Wars and being like a fan organization that kind of revolved around the name Star Wars and all of the IPs. So a lot of the people that have worked on the projects that I've worked on in the past, Star Wars Underworld Channel 1138, all the various Facebook pages and things, a lot of us have come together to create an employee-owned media company called Culture Slate, which is basically just your general news organization and media organization for fandom-related topics. We still focus very heavily on Star Wars because most of us are Star Wars fans. It's the one commonality that pretty much everybody has that works at Culture Slate. But we talk about a lot of other stuff too on our website and in our media. So you can find everything at cultureslate.com. We post like 10 articles a day about various topics. And then we have various YouTube channels as well about different topics that are connected to that. One of our favorites is Culture Slate Reacts, where our good friend Catherine Carter reacts to the newest Star Wars things and many other things like Marvel as well, and that's a really fun channel that people love.
Yeah, it's a fantastic idea because, as you said, there's just so much to keep track. I mean, just look at earlier this year, we had Rings of Power, we had House of the Dragon, we had She-Hulk, we had Andor. Like all the fandoms, everything has something ongoing all the time. It's not just movies anymore; it's series, it's everything else, the connective tissue, games, whatever. So it's great to have that outlet to just give people a chance to write about what they care about and get stuff their feelings and their thoughts out to the masses pretty regular. And like you said, with the companion YouTube channel, I watched a lot of those reacts, and it's a great fun time to have just people's raw emotions. She does a great job of just reacting. I react, but it's like, damn, that's a good shot right there with having all of that layout in the land there. Tell us about the Star Wars Underworld too. I know a lot of listeners and viewers, there's a little cross-pollination I have going on here, but not everybody has maybe heard of them. So let's hear about them.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So Star Wars Underworld goes back a long time ago. Galaxy far, far away. Like one of the first few. There's been some earlier waves of like Star Wars organizations and Star Wars podcasts. Like there's the real kind of prehistory people, like the Force Cast and the Force.net, Rebel Scum, like that. Those are kind of the OG original Star Wars things. So we kind of view ourselves as the next generation. Like a lot of that stuff was started by Gen X people who grew up with seeing A New Hope in theaters. So the Star Wars Underworld was started by a bunch of people who grew up seeing The Phantom Menace as their first movie in theaters, and we launched right after the Clone Wars series started. So we were huge fans of the prequels, and we were watching and reviewing and breaking down the Clone Wars show, and that's where the Star Wars Underworld got started. The whole concept of underworld comes from the Coruscant underworld idea in Star Wars that was very prevalent at that time and continues to be. So we've been going strong now for almost 13 years. We've been podcasting for almost all of that. I think we started podcasting about a year in, so it's been about 12 years that we've been podcasting. And it continues to be a really fun time. We're now a YouTube show very similar to your show, where we get together every week and go live and talk about the latest Star Wars news and break down whatever was the latest Star Wars thing that came out that we all watched and enjoyed. So it's myself, my good friends Ben and Dominic, and we have a new addition to our cast, Hannah Rayside as well, who also has a really exciting YouTube channel. Like, I kind of want to promote her almost more than myself, because a lot of people don't know who she is because she's kind of new on the block. She started her channel this year. I kind of was someone who's developed inside the Culture Site company and then branched off to do her own thing, which is super exciting. So definitely look her up. Her name's Hannah Rayside, Raeside. She's got one of the best new YouTube channels, and it's like gaining like 1,000 subscribers like every few weeks. It's like blowing up right now. So get on that train, so you can say you're one of the early people, because she's going to be big.
Well, we might have had a slight part in that. I'm not saying that we all had a part here, but sorry, Chris, but she actually beat you onto the podcast before you got on here. So, yeah,
I knew that she's been around, so I'm glad that you guys have had a chance to talk with her.
Oh, yeah. So now we have the quad, whatever, of the Star Wars Underworld is here. Everybody has been on at least once, and with hopes that everybody will be on at least a couple more times. Who knows how long? But anyway, so Star Wars Underworld, fantastic. I listened to you guys. I remember vividly, actually. I was listening to David Gramillion's show. Remember that guy?
Oh my gosh, that's OG.
The geek.
Wow.
The geek. Get your geek on. Get your geek on.
Oh my god!
I remember like back in, I think that was 2012 or 2013, because I had just moved into college, and I was just in my apartment and I was listening to these guys, and they're like, you guys must have came up at least at some point or something, and then I just like, oh, these guys are really cool. They're just like me. They're like the Phantom Menace. They grew up in the same era. Like, these guys these are the type of people I want to associate myself with. And then I just somehow, through osmosis, just like ended up on one of your shows at one point, and it all just went down. Everybody knows the story, but that's a
really fun one. Because I used to produce David Grimillion's show. Like, that's how I was involved with it. I was the producer, and for a while, his show was on the radio station that I ran, Channel 1138. And it's really funny what happened there, because we ended up splitting up, and we ended up both doing very similar terrestrial radio shows. He took Get Your Geek On to radio in Texas, and then I created another geek radio show that ended up on the radio in Los Angeles for a while. So it's kind of funny how that online thing that became kind of two terrestrial actual radio shows. It's really, really fun.
That's cool, man. Taking a trip down memory lane. I want to bring the other guys in for the conversation. Ben, Milton, as we always do, did you guys experience something fun with Star Wars this week, besides watching some really good trailers?
Other than that, I mean, not really. It was just kind of a normal week in terms of Star Wars stuff, chatting with other Star Wars fans online as usual. That's always a nice part of the week, just socializing with people, talking Star Wars, debating Star Wars. It's always a good time talking about this franchise, and that's about it, really. Nothing too like out of the ordinary, though.
Milton, how's it going?
Yeah, same here. Yeah, it's good, man. Everything's great. I don't have anything yet this week. I know I will tomorrow, because as you guys know, I'm going to update you next week on the chronicles of watching the original trilogy with my friend. So we're
Okay.
watching
Oh,
Return of the
nice.
Jedi tomorrow night. So what we're going to do is going to do like a quick do like a 30-minute recap of Empire. So we'll probably watch the last like 20 minutes of Empire and lead that into Return of the Jedi tomorrow night, just to refresh her memory of what happened at Empire. So that's going to be my week in Star Wars, and you'll get an update about that next week.
Nice. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. For me personally, I jumped back into Fortnite. This is gonna be very quick. I jumped back in Fortnite and I was battling as a stormtrooper, battling Black Chrysanthemum. Just in the middle of the new Fortnite update. It just brings me to just say, hey, Fortnite's crazy. It's literally like the metaverse encapsulated in this video game as everybody wants it to be. It's like, well, that's Fortnite for you because you have, Geralt of Rivia over here fighting some anime character over here who's fighting Spider-Man, who's fighting Luke Skywalker. So at this point, it's just absolute chaos. And
Right.
it was fun. It was fun. So I don't play Fortnite much, but I was like, I was on a gaming spree. I played like, tried like 5 different games in one day. Just like a little, like, play one match of this, play one match of this. And it's like, well, let me try Fortnite. So yeah, fun times there.
I actually do have a week in Star Wars. I just
Okay.
remembered it because it happened this morning as I think about it. I was at the gym, on cardio. I was watching some Star Wars videos and trailers, and so I don't know if you guys have seen someone on YouTube. Like they took the Duel of the Fates music and they sunk it with the Rey versus Kylo fight in Rise of Skywalker.
Okay.
You guys seen that before?
No.
Yep.
Haven't,
Yeah,
but that sounds
okay.
amazing.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's
Like
great.
I'm thinking to myself, man, they should have used the prequel music for that particular fight. It works well. I'm not disrespecting that scene. I actually do like that scene in the
Yeah.
movie, but that music makes it a better battle. It makes it a more powerful battle. And then also I was watching some of the trailers of the sequel trilogy. You know how I feel about the sequel trilogy, Chris and Ben. We'll say the trailers were pretty damn good for the sequel trilogy. I will say
Yeah.
how they cut them.
Oh, yeah.
That's good work. Like I'll give them that credit. When it comes to the films, I'm wishy-washy, but the trailers did a good job.
Yeah,
It
it's
was great
funny.
marketing.
It's funny because there's been more than one instance where they use Duel of the Fates in a teaser trailer and it never ends up in the actual movie. And I get so irritated by that because it's like, oh, it's this curse that keeps happening. Just put the darn song in there already because we all love it so
No,
much.
so
It's like, come on.
I'll have to send it. Yeah, I'll have to send it to you, Ben, or to you, Chris, because someone did that for that particular scene and it worked out perfect. And also, someone spliced Anakin's dark deeds
Hmm.
with the Luke and Kylo duel, or interaction at the end of the Last Jedi, and it works out perfect. I'm thinking, man, if they would have sliced this music together, I would have liked those scenes significantly better.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. All right. So some housekeeping, getting into the proper show here. You guys can always listen to us. We put up the podcast. New episodes go live Monday mornings, and you could download them on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get your podcasts. And you could always join us live every Friday at 9 o'clock Eastern here on youtube.com/Starrapter. Join the conversation, join the live chat. We love to have you guys chiming in along with the discussion. So out this week, we had 2 entries for publishing that came out this week. The first one is Hidden Empire issue number 2. Hidden Empire issue number 2. It's the big miniseries that is going to basically give us the rest of Kira's journey in between Empire and Return of the Jedi. Now we have Darth Vader entering a fray. So a lot of cool stuff heating up there. We also have Starlight Stories, which is just a compilation of the High Republic short stories for Phase 1 that were published in the Star Wars Insider magazines. They would put out like part 1 of 2 every month. I think there's like 6 total stories in that or something like that, from all the architects of the High Republic. Speaking of the High Republic, we're going to jump right into our first story here. This comes to us from the Daily Mail, and it is the Acolyte set photos. So did any of you guys get a chance to look at these? I was thinking, I'm going to avoid these. But, this thing is so far off that I feel like I would see these things eventually anyway. So I just gave in and I looked at a few. So what were your guys' first reactions, Chris?
Yeah, I am so incredibly excited for this show. I actually, my expectations have kind of been tempered a little bit by the fact that Andor was so good that I kind of do expect the second season of Andor to be probably the best thing on the horizon for Star Wars right now. So the Acolyte's taken a back seat to that in my mind. But with the exception of that, like, I've never been as hyped for anything before as I've been for the Acolyte. All the Star Wars shows, they take place in a very narrow timeline, extremely narrow timeline. I mean, even if you extend back to kind of the first few episodes of Tales of the Jedi, you don't have much of a time span between that and the Mandalorian. And so the idea that they're going back, over 100 years to tell a story that is very different, and then also bridges the gap in some ways between the High Republic book timeline and the all the other stuff. I think is really, really cool, and to have that show be about Force wielders is really, really cool. So I love these photos; they're really intriguing. You definitely kind of see that High Republic influence in the visual style of the costumes, which is kind of really exciting to see. It's just cool that they're filming this and that it's actually happening, and that we've had all these issues with Star Wars films where we get excited for them and then they don't happen, but that's not the case with most of the TV series. So it's really nice to actually see that this thing that they've been talking about for a while is actually happening. They're actually filming it. We're actually going to get this very distant prequel show, and the first thing kind of in live action, not really in the saga or saga adjacent timeline ever. So exciting.
Yeah, so many great points you made there, Chris. Starting with, hey, lately movies have not been in a good place, and but this thing got announced back in 2020, right? December 2020, and we're adjusting set pictures now. So it's like, yeah, it's been a little bit of a long haul. We've heard from the showrunner how much she's into the lore, and we're all about that. Like, yes, we want somebody very heavily involved, and you don't have to be heavily involved. I mean, like you said, Chris, Andor, I agree with you. It's probably the best thing Star Wars has seen in the last couple of years from just like a quality perspective. And Tony Gilroy just flat out says, I don't really like Star Wars. So that you can't really go against that, but it always bodes well when somebody knows the nitty and gritty of the galaxy. Ben, what was your first
reaction?
I
jump in really quick there and say that despite the fact that Leslie Headland, the showrunner, is very much into Star Wars, there was an article that came out about how some of the writers of the show are not. So you still are going to have that element to it.
Okay. The funny thing is, I'm sure you guys remember about that. When it came out about the writers not being into it, the next day was when Leslie Headland was like, but remember, guys, like, I'm into Star Wars, and she had an interview with her, like, talking about her history with Star Wars. So it was like a big PR thing. But but yeah, like that whole thing, it doesn't really matter. Like, as long at the end of the day, if they're a good creator, they can do a good job. Like, as long as they can tell a good story in Star Wars, it really doesn't matter to me. But like Chris said, it's nice having that as like a little bonus, but it's not like a maximum like requirement. But yeah, for me, for these set photo leaks, I was in the boat. I remember just a month or two ago talking to one of my cousins. I was like, man, I don't even know if this show's even going to happen, because we haven't heard much about it. We haven't seen much from it. Like, and how many countless projects are like on the island of like canceled Star Wars or disappeared Star Wars projects. I was like, is this going to be another one? Because we didn't really hear much about it from Celebration. We haven't heard about it like at D23 or anything along those lines. So it was just like, finally, it's here. And then like you mentioned, Chris, it's like, now that we have set photos, it's like we know it's happening. Like they can't go back on it now. So like it's nice. And like seeing the costumes the way they were. I mean, I'm not a person who has gotten like really big into the High Republic. My main High Republic info has been coming from like Chris, a lot of his breakdowns and whatnot. But yeah, like when I saw those costumes and stuff, I thought of like the images I've seen from the High Republic like books and stuff. It definitely resembles that, and it's nice because sometimes as Star Wars fans, like, we get into the whole nitty gritty of like, are these shows actually connecting to the books? Like, for example, we had all the chatter around the Ahsoka stuff from Tales of the Jedi and that whole thing. So, that it's nice that like they're taking like an accurate portrayal of the High Republic costume design into live action, and I'm sure it'll pay off once we see it in like full blown, however it looks actually in actual like scenes and trailers and whatnot.
Yeah, Milton, wow, which of these photos stood out to you?
I haven't seen them.
Oh, okay.
I've not seen them yet.
Let's take a look.
I've heard about them. Like I know they came out. I just haven't seen them yet. It comes to my thoughts on wanting this show. I mean, I think I'm like Ben a little bit, where it's like, are we really going to get this show? Again, we have.
Well, now that we have set photos, Milton, it's happening.
It's happening, and so like, I think once I see them, I mean, I don't want to be that person to make an assumption off of set photos. I mean, that's never a good thing. But hopefully, the show is just like hopefully it's different. Hopefully it's something that we kind of got like Andor, and I know all the things that were said today pretty much adds up to that, but. Again, I want it to be something that's fresh, something that's different, something that's going to expand Star Wars, and just continue to to grow the property.
Yeah. All right. So what I'll say is there's a certain Wookiee character. All right, and I'm not the first one to come up with this idea, but if they were to make a direct connection to a character, how long do Wookiees live? They could live at least like 300 years, right? I mean, let's just say this guy is Buryaga Aggerberry from the very first High Republic book. I would lose my mind, man, because how many Wookiee Jedi have we seen? I mean, besides Buryaga, there's also the one guy from the manga series. I forget, his name is something with an A, but there isn't a lot of Wookiee Jedi, so I would like to see that happen. Besides him, I'm very excited to see a female Zabrak. I think that's really cool. Or Iridonian, however you want to say her specific Zabrak nationality or species is. But I think that's really cool. Again, we're expanding the universe. We're expanding the lore of Star Wars to include like larger characters that are more alien. And I think a lot of people are instantly going to draw a contrast, as you would. It's impossible to view these things in a vacuum, right? We just got out of Andor, and there wasn't a lot of aliens. So, a lot of people kind of get grounded in Star Wars because of the alien species. But looking here, this is like we got no shortage of alien, unique looking characters. So I'll say like my initial reaction was like, good, we're getting like completely different designs. And like it goes back to what Chris was saying about, hey, this is in a completely separated era, 100 years away from the prequels. So we're gonna see drastic change, which is what's needed. It's what's needed. I've been wanting this to happen for literally years now, and it's great to see that it's finally happening here. Yeah. So, Ben, what are your thoughts on? I think we see this character played by Daphne Keane from what is it? The Logan movie. Now her character looks very interesting. A different kind of hair design. She matches with these other characters. They have some kind of bow weapon or something like that. I'm not sure what's going on there.
Yeah, I was thinking. So she's not the lead, correct? It's Amanda Stenberg.
Yeah,
I think her name is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. So maybe she'll end up being like, I don't even know. Maybe. I mean, she could literally be anything. I mean, a villain, a good person, or not. I don't know. It's just so hard to tell with set photos because like it could literally be anybody. So like I feel like it's just a coin toss. But I do think with like a set photo of her getting out, it's like maybe she's one of more of like the more lead type characters for the show versus just being like, a background picture. Because like, when we get these leaks, a lot of times the leaks aren't just your like side character number 7 in the background of scene X. Like, it's always like a lead person or someone who may be prevalent in the show. So maybe that's what she'll end up being.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she'll end up being just like kind of like one of the other leads along with Amanda Sternberger. However you say her name.
It's Amanda.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Amanda.
I think the vibes that I get from these photos is there's a lot of light colors in their costumes, which makes me think that these are mainly heroes that we're seeing, and perhaps some of them might become traitors later on. But I think the initial premise for the characters that we're seeing is there's a scene where the heroes are doing something, the protagonists, the Jedi, and their accomplices are doing something. And the one thing that we know about this show, from people talking about descriptions of it, is that it's most likely going to feature a lot of dark side user characters and Sith type characters, and so I think perhaps Amanda Sandberg is going to be on the antagonist side, and a lot of the characters, a lot of the actors that were cast and announced that we didn't see in these leaks probably are going to be the dark side characters. So I think that's one big thing that these leaks have shown is kind of which actors potentially are playing Jedi and on the Republic side, and which characters that we didn't see are potentially going to be on that Sith side or dark side, Acolyte side, hence the name.
Yeah, we have this one prominent image here from Squid Game star Lee Jung-jae. I love the look of his Jedi, man. He just looks such like a regal Jedi with the High Republic golden robes. We did get a specific quote, and this is going off what you just said, Chris, from Daphne Keane, something along the likes, not exact quote, but it's like, hey, this story is about like the infiltration of the Sith in the Jedi Order. And that is just, there's so much to glean just from that single statement. Like, this is a lot of what people have been wanting for. Coming off of Andor, right, there is a complete void of Jedi and the mythos of the Force in general. And I was fine with that. I'm happy to see the galaxy completely void of that, to just get a different feel of things. But now we're going to go to the polar opposite in Acolyte, where we're going to be just entrenched with the dark side, entrenched with the Jedi, seeing different spins on everything as a prequel. So this is going to be what a lot of people have been waiting for sure.
Well, Chris, just to jump in there real quick, you know, you bringing up her quote about infiltrating the Jedi, that actually kind of brings me back to, I believe it was the article posted on StarWars.com, the one where it said, you know, the series description where it's like a former Jedi Padawan, you know, so I'm guessing, to go along with what you mentioned, Chris, about potential Amandla being the antagonist, maybe she'll be the one to like infiltrate the Jedi, you know, be like, I want to come back, blah, 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 and, you know, whatever bad things happen.
So there's no Munes in any of these photos yet. I'm hoping for that Plagueis reveal down the line, but I'm sure we're gonna see a lot more of this, Chris, over across the pond when we go to Celebration in April. I'm sure they're gonna have a really big panel. Hopefully.
There better be.
Yeah. So I want to transition right into our topic, our thumbnail image, if you will, and that is Jedi Survivor at the Game Awards last night on Thursday, as we get every year. This big award ceremony, but unlike the awards, it's more about what's coming out in the foreseeable future. And of course, EA brought out the gameplay reveal trailer for Jedi Survivor. But before we dive in, Chris, I wanted to especially get you on tonight's show because after hearing Star Wars Underworld, you literally laid down the hammer and said this is the best Star Wars game ever. So explain.
I would say that I'm more of a fan of RPG games than FPS games. And I think that's one of the big reasons why I like this game more than a lot of Star Wars games, because a lot of Star Wars games that are popular, like the old Battlefront series and the new Battlefront series, are very much FPS games. They do have story modes in some of them and campaign modes, but very much the gameplay is kind of based on that FPS style and that arcade battle style and the co-op play and all of those different things. So, yeah, I think that's one reason why I really like this game, because it has that story element to it that is a lot deeper. It's very much that script could have been a series or a movie very easily, and I don't think you can say that for a good amount of the other Star Wars games. I'm also not a massive fan of what Star Wars has done with MMOs as well. I know a lot of people love the Old Republic, but it's not something that I particularly enjoy, and I never fully enjoyed the gameplay mechanics of KOTOR as well. Knights of the Old Republic, I kind of found the gameplay to be a little bit limited in the mechanics, despite the fact that the story actually I think was pretty good for that game. So I think it's just the marriage of everything. I think there's peak storytelling. I think there's peak gameplay mechanics. As an RPG, it's a really good role playing game. And I just felt when I was playing the game like I was kind of living inside a Star Wars movie for the duration of playing the game. Like that's what it felt like. I felt like I was a character inside a Star Wars movie. I think it had a level of immersion to it, especially like for instance the level of cohesion between the actual gameplay and the cutscenes, and the quality of the graphics not falling off too much between the two, and that seamless transition there. Like there's just all these elements to the game that it's like open world concept despite it being like an RPG where you're progressing through levels. Like all these different things made it just a really cool experience for me, and I think that's why it's my favorite Star Wars game.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm there with you. It's any day I wake up, it's a toss up between Jedi Fallen Order and the original Knights of the Old Republic, which I hold so dear, because that was one of the games again that I bought a system just to play the damn game. But yeah, so with Fallen Order, I echo what you're saying, right? Like this is a very rich in story game, so rich in set in between two different eras, the prequels and the original trilogy. I think Cal Kestis as a character, and this is not saying anything bad about just his emotions and his personality, but he's a good vessel for like the everyday person to experience like reclaiming Jedi power. He's a very good, you get sucked into his journey and go along with him to just rediscover the Force. And there's all stuff about the Zepho mystery of like eons past, which is really cool, mixed in with the urbanization of the Empire, the stuff on Kashyyyk with just like industry tearing down. There's a lot of cool like deep messages in this video game, which we just think like Battlefront. Yeah, nothing against Battlefront like you were saying, but it's just like it's very cut and dry. Just shoot this guy, shoot that guy. Whereas Fallen Order really gets into some deep thoughts and things about just sacrifice and what's good, what's right for the world, what's right for you, and just everything had a lot more layers to it than we're used to with a lot of these on-surface Star Wars games, and just the amalgamation of the different kind of gameplay types, like you said, from RPG to action adventure to platformer. It was just to Metroidvania, where you're going back to some of these locations, but then you're more powerful, so you get to really see your guy just growing in that power of the Force and just taking people down more so than we've even seen in Jedi, The Force Unleashed and all that kind of thing. So yeah, fantastic video game. And before we get into our frame-by-frame breakdown, just your quick thoughts on the trailer, Chris, that we got last night.
Yeah, it was really great. I would say the only negative that I had to it was like the gameplay footage itself didn't blow me away. Like it didn't feel like it was necessarily a huge upgrade beyond the way that the first game looked and felt. So, which again, it's like what are you to expect with a sequel? Sometimes it's basically like the same game extended, and this definitely feels like the same game extended, almost like more DLCs onto the game than necessarily like a bigger better version of the previous game. So that's the only thing that like I felt negatively about it. But like everything else was positive. I mean, everything looked fresh. All the characters, locations looked new. Cal himself has an upgraded, different look. He's older and he looks really, really cool. And I do feel like that this game's going to continue that kind of adventure with these characters, and is going to feel like a next step, and like you're going to continuing to play the game further as if you'd only had played half of it, which I think that's really cool. I don't think it doesn't seem like it's going to kind of rehash or retread or just try to kind of make another version of the game that we already got, which is a lot of times the concern with sequels. So I'm excited about what we're seeing so far, and so far it looks like it's a good extension of the franchise rather than just kind of like, oh, we're putting it out again to make more money.
Yeah. Oh man, I totally agree with a lot of those thoughts. Although I will push back a little bit just to say, I think they're holding their cards to their chest. Well, they are holding the cards to their chest because we haven't gotten much about how big are these worlds we're exploring. I think that's going to be the big thing, right?
That's
I think
true.
we're going to get into it. There's a mount at one point he's riding, or 2 mounts or something. So that automatically signals to me, oh, these are much bigger worlds that you can't just run around. And you're going to need a mount to run around, which could also equal like, hey, there's maybe side quests, because that was a big... I'm hoping that Respawn kind of listened to some of the feedback, because this game, it got rave reviews, but there's also a lot of people out there like, hey, if there is going to be a sequel, let's add some more companion characters. Let's add this. So, this game's been in development for about 3 years now. So they've had time to iterate on what they've already had. And I assume this is like the same engine that they've already used. So I'm hoping that like they could have already hit the ground running. They didn't have to build the game from the ground up. Like you said, it's almost like an updated version. But sometimes the updated version is even, that's actually what we really need. You don't need to reinvent the wheel in order to get the game to be that much better. Like I'm looking at, I haven't played it myself, but I looked at a lot of reviews for God of War, Ragnarok, and that somehow that the sequel got like higher scores than the original. And the original was already well regarded as one of the best games ever made, and now Ragnarok is one of the best games ever made. And that game didn't really reinvent the wheel from its earlier entries. So I'm thinking maybe that's kind of like the ground that Respawn is going down. I want you guys, Ben and Milton, to chime in. What were your thoughts on the trailer here?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ben.
Oh, go ahead, Milton. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, I did watch that actually yesterday, and I liked it. I mean, it didn't blow me away because honestly, I still haven't played the first one yet. Like, it's still in my case downstairs. Just haven't sat down and just taken the time to play it because I know you have to be invested. People keep telling me like it's a game that you're going to be invested in. So, but for what I've seen from the trailer, I'm excited for the game to come out. Obviously, I want to play the first one before I even get into the second one. I think I want to check out that story. I like the visuals. It did give me a lot of the Force Unleashed feel to it, especially when it comes to like storytelling aspects of it. Because I felt that first Force Unleashed was a really strong story. I'm hoping that the sequel to this game will be better than what the sequel was with the Force Unleashed 2.
Oh, I hope it is. Oh,
yeah, I mean, and look, I don't mind that game. I actually like it still, but it was disappointing, and that was a lot of internal stuff of Lucasfilm games at the time. Like, it was just a lot of stuff going on with that. So I'm hoping that this particular game doesn't disappoint, because you know how I feel about Star Wars and video games the last 7 years. Like, they have had a horrible track record to me. So thus far, they've had a hit. Let's continue that momentum and hopefully build a franchise within the franchise.
Yeah, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, I thought the trailer looked really good. For the most part, I always love one of the most fun things for me about the entire Fallen Order series is seeing my guy Cameron Monaghan from the Gotham days back in the day to being in Star Wars now. I just love seeing him in Star Wars. So like it's always great to see him, especially that interview you sent us today, Chris. That was a really nice little interview he did about the game. And then as for the trailer, I think the trailer looked really good. It looked like they're going to give us a proper sequel to the first game. So like like John Campy always says, like do trailers raise your excitement level? And if they do, that means they did their job. And like this one did its job. I'm more excited for the game, and I'm looking forward to it. I do agree with you though, Chris, on kind of the gameplay aspect look of it. It definitely looks like they just kind of like copy and pasted the gameplay, I think. But hey, like what do you expect? Like I didn't think they were going to revolutionize the gameplay from one game to the next, even though it's been a 2.5, 3 year span, just because it's like, you don't want to overhaul your entire game mechanics, the look of the game, the feel of the game. Like, you don't want to overhaul that and like potentially give customers like, I don't know, not like sticker shock, but you know what I mean, like a totally just different experience where it's like, wait, this isn't like the first game at all. So I think that's where the gameplay stuff comes from, is just them kind of just like sticking to it. But yeah, that was about the only like iffy part of it to me, where it didn't look like it didn't look like they innovated too much. But hey, it's the first trailer.
Yeah, we got
big one. Yeah,
certainly. We got Dark Nerdy Gonzo in the chat. Jedi Fallen Order beats The Force Unleashed, both gameplay and story-wise. I agree, yeah. Second game, as Milton pointed out, not the strongest suit in the Star Wars pantheon of games, but I do want to dive in deep to the actual frames that I pulled from the actual game. Now, we're going to get the Bad Batch. I know you just seen a preview. We're going to get the Bad Batch in the later half of tonight's episode, but let's open up with some mysterious things in the trailer here. As you're seeing on the screen, we have Cal discovering some ancient being in the Bacta tank, and this was revealed on StarWars.com's gallery images. Yeah, I dug deep into this, as I do with this game franchise. I love it. They do say he's kind of an ancient character or something. So I just, this is cool. I like how we're getting this mystery tease of this character that I'm not familiar with this character. I don't know if you guys have seen him before. I think he's a brand new character, as you see this up close images here. Yeah, this up close image here, it evokes Vader in the back of the tank with like the breathing apparatus on his face. Interesting about what the dialogue is being said as this is being played over, how he's been freed, how he's been betrayed. Oh man, this is interesting. I did not expect this game to go in this direction.
Yeah, this is very intriguing, and I was really confused at first because I initially, when I saw the trailer, I wasn't even sure if all those shots were like.
Yeah, I think we lost Chris.
Cut off.
I think we lost Chris.
I think we. Yep.
Technology, people, we're live.
Yeah. Well, while he reconnects and stuff, I'll just hop in there. Yeah, I think it's interesting, the whole Bacta tank thing. And Chris, I was actually going to ask you, or both of you guys, since you guys are more knowledgeable about the High Republic than myself, is there any, you bring up it being an ancient character, is there any character so far that has been I don't know, severely damaged and then goes missing or anything, and then maybe they connect it?
No, we haven't gotten anything just like that yet. I have a feeling that they're not going to even reveal this character at all, until the game. And what I liked, then we're going to go talking about that interview that you mentioned, Ben, and I sent you guys. In the interview, it was straight up asked about Star Wars canon and characters being continued and stuff like that in other mediums. And they're like, Cameron Monaghan's look, we're telling all the Jedi story in the games. The main story is in the games. We're not piecing anything together through other media yet. But you're going to get the story. You're going to get what you want if you're a game player. You're going to get it all from the game. So I believe, hey, this is the story here. And that's
just
it.
Isolated more than anything.
I appreciate that. I do appreciate that. Getting further.
Oh, for sure.
Getting further in here to some actual gameplay. As I look here. Okay, here we go. This is sweet. I jumped in joy at this because this is one of the Magna cards, and it's not going to be the first Separatist droid we see Cal slaying in this game, but I'm just happy that you can keep the gameplay generally the same, but a good way to switch it up is just change AI, change characters, and go from there. Chris, I think you're back now.
Yeah, sorry about that. The Wi-Fi cut out, and now it's back.
It's all good. Yeah, you were talking about
sorry,
that
I was
guy
in the middle of saying before,
guy.
just to wrap up what I was saying was that I wasn't sure who the character was, and I thought it might be multiple characters, and it took me a minute to piece together the shots. I had to watch it a few times to realize, oh, that's all the same character. And now I'm sure, yeah, I've not seen that character before, because looking at every angle, there's things I've never seen before. Character in fact, I think, yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting, right? Like the Separatists, they're gone. They've been gone for at least like 10 years. This game takes place 5 years after the first one. So that puts it at like that 10-year mark after Revenge of the Sith, actually smack dab with Solo, same era with Obi-Wan series. So we are far enough away, but it does seem, and we'll get later into the trailer, you'll see some B1 battle droids, but it's like, oh, cool. Like somebody has reactivated some of the droids. That's interesting. And moving on here. Oh, man. Yeah, so this is another nice shot of... We got some Imperials. We got the good old K2 KX droid. We got a Flame Trooper here. We got like an Imperial compound. So what I will say about just like glancing over some of these shots here is we're getting a wide array of environments, which is great because you look at the original game. You had Kashyyyk. You had a couple original locations like Zepho. We had Dathomir. We had Braca. Like I had a lot of like mix and matching, and I don't know if you pointed out anything that was familiar to you, but I really think that each one of these things they showed is brand new. I mean, I don't know if we get further in this trailer breakdown.
I agree with you. I did not recognize much at all in this.
Yeah, and I'll point out what I think I might know later on as we get to it. But Ben, what's your take on just the overall combat that you've played so far? Because I imagine you haven't finished the game completely, the first one. But what was your take with the enemies you fight so far?
Well, I've finished I haven't. Okay, here's my story on Fallen Order. So I haven't finished the game playing it by myself, like solo straight away through. But back when the game first came out, my ex-girlfriend at the time, me and her, like, we sat down one night and just kept handing the controller back and forth. Like, we played through the whole game when it came out. I just haven't played through it, solo, like, by myself. So, like, that's kind of, like, my history with Fallen Order. But yeah, like, I think the gameplay looks really, looks clean, fluid. And one of the most interesting parts of the gameplay, especially from this trailer, I'm sure we'll get into it with different shots, but, the fact it looks like we're being able to like dual wield potentially, like blaster and lightsaber type thing. Like I think that is a really interesting aspect because I wonder how you'll like be able to like do that. Like just the mechanics of it and stuff and how that'll work out. If there's like combos or things, and I'm really interested to see how they incorporate that and like how you just actually do it.
Oh, heck yeah. For sure. Looking at this next shot here, oh man, there's so much to break down from this because this guy has a yellow lightsaber. This evokes that classic McQuarrie design for some reason, where it's like that Luke Sky Killer or whatever, Star Killer, Luke Star Killer design fighting against, some dude with a gas mask. It looks like the same concept almost, right?
Yeah. Now here's my question for you guys, because again, I haven't played the game yet, so I'm not super familiar with the story. So from looking at this image, is Cal is he a good lightsaber duelist? I know his story was like he left the order when he was a kid. He had to relearn it throughout the game, from my understanding. Is he actually good with wielding a saber?
He gets better, I'll tell you that much. He's certainly feel like underpowered.
Yeah, wasn't some of the idea that he had kind of lost his memories or his abilities, and he had to kind of get them back, and that kind of was a gameplay or like a story mechanic that then allowed you to kind of do tutorials in the gameplay in a sense.
Yeah.
And I'm asking that just because I'm seeing this image, and it's like I assume the person with the the gold yellow lightsaber can kick someone's ass, and I don't really know Cal's skill potential yet. Now from the trailer, he looked like he could handle himself. I'm curious to see how they're going to do, I guess, the one-on-one battles when it comes to saber saber combat? Like, what is it like in the first game?
Oh, it's awesome. It's awesome, right, Chris? Like I'm looking at the battles between the Ninth Sister on Kashyyyk. That's one of my favorite battles. The one dude that's like a dark side user on not Korriban, but Dathomir, Malagos or something, was it? Like Malagos or
Sounds
something?
right.
And then oh my gosh, the last duel with this I won't spoil, the second sister that you have the duel with. Oh my gosh, you play that on a higher difficulty, you'll be should have smashed your controller. It's intense. Like the boss battles are so good, the mechanics are so tight. Like you don't ever feel like you're being cheated. Like you have to learn how to actually like counter certain things and memorize patterns. It's like very much Dark Souls in that regard. But yeah, I mean, by the end of that game, like Cal has definitely come a long way, and you feel it because he's been hiding as a Jedi for the longest time. So he's kind of repressed his Force abilities so he doesn't get discovered. So that's like the idea is like you're slowly opening yourself back up to the Force, and all this stuff is washing back over you essentially. But I like this idea, and I'm gonna keep saying this until I'm done with the game. Like, this is Star Killer. This is Star Killer here. This is an undercover Star Killer.
No way. I saw you put that in a tweet or something, and I wasn't sure. Then I'm thinking to myself, if Chris thinks that they're bringing Star Killer in a game, there's no way right now they're going to put him in a live action.
No, they're going to put him in a game first.
No. Listen, he's such a well-known character, and everyone likes him. Like, and Sam Witwer is alive and young enough to play that character. So him in live action because that's where I want to see him first. Like, because I already saw him in the game. I got the games to still play. I want to see Star Killer in the live action version, and you can mesh his story in Star Wars. You can figure it out, but there's no way to put him in this game. No way.
But I think who this guy is, or this character, I don't even know if he is a guy or what he is exactly, but his lightsaber design is almost just like Cal, so something is a connection between these two characters. I think the easy thing to guess is it's going to be the guy that was in the Bacta tank, but maybe Cal has a brother from the Jedi Academy or something.
That was my assumption when I saw the later scene with him in his outfit. I'm like, that looks like the same character that was in the Bacta tank. I'm gonna guess that it's the same character.
We see a cockpit shot here, and I think we've seen maybe this in the reveal trailer. Just the idea that Cal is crashing on his planet, but the idea that he doesn't have a crew anymore. Where's Sarah Junda? Where is Mirren? Where is Gree? Where's everybody? At least BD's there with them, but it makes you wonder what exactly is happening, because that was part of the fun of the game, is being able to go back on your ship in between missions and just chit chat with her compatriots there. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I'm sure that'll probably be a really early part of the game, like, giving that answer as to where they're at versus like, I don't know. I think it's like a small chance that's later in the game, just because it's like, hey, it's the trailer, I don't know. I just feel like that shot specifically, it just screams like, I could see like that being like an opening type sequence of the sequel, just because it's like, how are you going to open it like leading off of the end of the first game?
This is a fantastic shot. I love like this perspective shot of Cal just looking out at the horizon of this brand new planet. This is a brand new planet in Star Wars. At least we haven't seen it in live action. Maybe it's from the books or something, but it just again shows you that this game is now going to be a PS5, Xbox Series S and X, and PC game. You're not going to be able to buy this on PS4 or Xbox One, which is a good thing in my eyes. I mean, yeah, it sucks if you don't have one, but the consoles have been out for 2.5 years by the time this game came out. So, I mean, it's enough.
Those things are mortgage payments, Chris.
Hey, you could have got a good deal on Black Friday. You could have got a $250 Xbox.
Nah, miss me with that, bro. I own a house, my man. That's just going to wait.
But no, the fidelity.
I love the visuals and the art of the planets in the previous game, and then what we're looking in this trailer. I mean, that was one of the more exciting, immersive parts about the game is how unique all the different planets were and how alien some of them were, and like especially like going to Dathomir was like amazing. Like they animated that so well. The graphics are amazing on that planet. So I'm really looking forward to seeing this what they can do in this one.
Yeah, this is I believe this is Unreal Engine 5. The latest and the greatest there. That's what they actually helped develop The Mandalorian on with the stagecraft tech. They use like real-time rendering from the Unreal Engine 5. So this is cool tech. Ben, were you saying something?
Oh no, I was just gonna say, yeah. I mean, I agree with you both. Like, I think that was one of the most charming part of the first game, Fallen Order game, just because it's like, when you hop into a Star Wars game, of course you have the story you want to do and all that. But like, to me, one of my biggest things I like to do in any Star Wars game, whether it be the Fallen Order game, the Battlefront games, the Lego games, the old Obi-Wan game, like any of them really, is just go and like walk around and explore. Like you mentioned, the Dathomir map was or the level was really great. Just some of like different buildings, like ships, different things you've been in through the game. Like, those are some of the best parts of Star Wars game. It's not even like playing the actual story. It's just like going and walking around the planet. I mean, back in the day, like I mentioned, the Kenobi game was so much fun because the first few levels of that, like you're in the Coruscant like underworld and stuff. So it's cool just like getting to actually like explore the Star Wars universe, because we really don't have an open world console Star Wars game at the moment where you can just hop in and just like walk around, So it's nice like getting these games like Fallen Order where you can just like get out there and explore and like just check everything out.
Yeah, I remember when Battlefront 2015, it was Battlefront 2 came out. That was like the first like story game under the Disney umbrella with like the story group and all that stuff. I was taking my sweet ass time just like looking at the tiniest details. I was like, oh, this is canon, guys. All this stuff is legit. This is the new Star Wars storytelling in video games. And I spent like too much time just walking around going, oh, look how great this looks. But now with Survivor coming out and Fallen Order, it's like, okay, this is meant to be doing that sort of critique and detail. Looking at this next shot, something I will be spending a lot of time in this specific room. It looks like our good buddy Sarah Jenda, who is like the ad hoc instructor of Cal Kestis on his run away from the Inquisitors in the Fallen Order game. She has set up shop, I believe. This is in Bogota, or I think that's the place where Pagano. And she has set up almost like a Jedi archive in this freaking place. This is crazy.
Yeah, that's super awesome. When I saw that at first, I thought, wait a minute, how are they back at the temple? The temple's been burned down. What happened? I have a timeline that all confused, but that's really cool that they're doing that, because like the whole concept of like Jedi lore is something that we talked about earlier. Makes this franchise so cool. So the idea of them potentially having like an archive where maybe you can look into some more lore, that's pretty cool, and a place to collect everything. Like that's a cool idea. Perhaps Cal's, as he discovers things throughout his journey, might be adding to this archive.
Oh, that's a good idea. I could definitely see that happening. Playing throughout this game, collect an object, and bring it back to the archive. That sort of thing, and it like tracks your progress, and it's part of the Jedi lore. Like, I could definitely see that happening.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine if like you're finding like Jedi holo journals of like people from like pre-High Republic and stuff like that, where I could have a channel just dedicated to those darn books, like, oh, this is the journal number 3, and go and do a 3-minute video about, oh, this simple paragraph of this character doing this, and it's all in the game, that could be huge. And then people like me would just 100% the game as quick as possible to find all the little nuggets there. As we talked about before with this next shot, it's Cal holding up a stormtrooper with the Force and doing some kind of mind trick to like use him as a floating turret to kill his own men. This is definitely not in the game for the first one. So this is how they are, capitalizing on just the increased skill of Cal Kestis, because I sure as hell hope that we don't start in this game, oh, we have to suddenly get all our skills back. I think they made that clear in
I
the
don't think
description.
so. I've heard a few people talk about this. I think Stars Explained talked about this in his video, where like you could have restarted it, but I think they're gonna just have the same abilities that you gained at the end of the previous game, and then you're gonna have all these new abilities that are gonna be added in after the fact, and then that's how you're gonna progress in the game. It's just adding more onto it, and including perhaps like flying with these creatures and such.
Yeah, Ben, what were your thoughts on the Force powers in Fallen Order?
Yeah, I mean, I thought they were one of the most fun parts of the first game, and like you both mentioned, when it comes to the second one, that was my concern as well going into it, because it's like, are we starting from scratch and building clear back up to the to the final hurrah again? But then as I thought about it more, it's like, no, they're probably just going to keep building it, and then just scale your I guess opposition through the game to be harder to match, like, to like match your skill level in the Force, if that makes sense.
Looking at this next one, this is what I was alluding to before. It's Cal looking at a creature now. It's a very prevalent thing with Jedi now, whether it be the High Republic or just people like Kanan or Ezra to attach themselves with the Force to creatures to allow them to be controlled or used as allies in different things. And as I was saying before, he's approaching this creature. Looks like he's trying to attach with the Force. And the next shot here, we see him going high velocity, just charging a battle droid, just chopping him in half. This again is another way of adding to the gameplay and making it feel like this is an actual step up rather than a Jedi Fallen Order 1.5. This is truly a 2.0 experience, because we are having entirely new game mechanics that we had only wished for in the first one. So Chris, what do you think about this whole thing with the mounts? This is pretty cool, right?
Yeah, I think that it's awesome, and I like your theory that you had earlier about it potentially being evidence that the maps are going to be expanded because of the abilities to control creatures and have that add to Cal's abilities. So I think having the ability to fight with them, the ability to explore with them, both are really big.
Yeah, as we see here, we got this image of a pterosaur thingy, pterodactyl. He's hanging from him. Go for a little outpost.
That's dope. I like that. I mean, this looks good. I mean, this game looks like it should be fire. I mean, from what everyone keeps telling me about the first one, like, this is looking like it's going to hold up. And I agree with you, Chris. I think they have a lot of potential to, obviously expand the game within the game, especially having more opportunity to go your non-traditional parts of the game for like bonus stuff like that.
Heck yeah. Now we have a couple new adversaries in this little clip here throughout the trailer. You got this one dude that looks like a cross from somebody from Marvel, if you ask me, a little bit. This ugly dude with some really serious looking armor. But this is the moment when we get the awesome reveal. Something I was hoping for is that dual wielding is now in the game. It's not just a little like one move attack like in the first game. It's a full blown combat style that I'm looking forward to, because that's also how you change up. I think there's going to be 3 different fighting styles. I would love to see a way of having proficiency in a certain move set. For instance, like, hey, if you are a person that loves double blade lightsabers, maybe you get an entire talent tree a la like Dragon Age or World of Warcraft or something, where you just put points into like getting better specifically, and then each playthrough of the game you try different proficiency, a different lightsaber specialization. That could be really cool. What do you think about that, Mel?
I mean, I think it'll be fire. I mean, look, anytime I play a game like this, I want to have options to play with. So whether it's with a saber, gun, hand-to-hand combat. I actually would be surprised if they put hand-to-hand combat in this particular video game, because was there any in the first one?
Hand-to-hand combat, no. It's just simply a single lightsaber, and at one point you unlock double-bladed at one point.
So, like, again, from what I've seen in the trailer, we saw, like, him with the gun and the saber. I'd be curious to see what else they do to try to expand his skill set, because we know Jedis can fight with their hands. Like we've seen it in comics, games, shows, whatever. So maybe there might be an opportunity where he doesn't rely on a weapon. I mean, pretty much he is the weapon. He's a Jedi. So maybe they put you in a situation where you have to use hand-to-hand combat and learn some particular skills, or like they did in the first game, I guess relearn it. So yeah, no, it'd be cool. I like it. I'm totally cool with different expansions of techniques in video games and making it just more options for people.
Yeah, for instance, Terrace Kasi, that'd be kind of cool. Just seeing some good old like moves Kira put on that Pike leader in Solo Star Wars story. I want to see Jedi learn how to do that. And it's interesting you brought that up. Actually, it's something I wanted to talk about. Where I was talking about before about, I don't think they're showing us everything. And I don't think they're showing us everything. And that means an entire way to play the game. This is purely speculation territory, so just take this with a grain of salt. But we have seen action figures. We've seen official key art. We've seen pre-order bonuses of blasters all over the place with this game. And I thought it was very interesting that they don't even have a single image of him in a trailer with the blaster at all on his hip, on any of his outfits, anything. I look close, man. I was doing some investigative research, and because in the first game, they did not even ever reveal that there was going to be a double blade lightsaber. And that was like the big surprise when you were playing through the game. It's like, oh my God, I didn't even know there was a double blade lightsaber in the game. So I have a feeling that maybe at some point he could be a gunslinger Jedi, kind of like Kanan Jarrus or something like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Awesome. I mean, you could definitely see it going that way, just because, like you mentioned, all the like real life stuff we've seen surrounding this game, like the marketing, like the blasters being included, that sort of stuff. Like it's pointing toward that. And I mean, hey, maybe we get to parts in the game, where it's like you're having to use blasters or different blaster implements, whether it be like sniping or pistols or whatever. You know what I mean? Like you have to get more proficient at those things to actually progress to even get past certain points in the game. Like I think that'd be a really nice touch as well, just because also, as you mentioned earlier, Chris, about like the lightsaber, like leveling up the lightsaber skills. Like, you might have to level up your blaster skills to like advance. And also it's nice having those type of aspects, because to me it just adds a nice replayability to the game, so you can go back to try to like max out everything and that sort of stuff, versus just like playing it through and being done.
Yeah, the thing is, another reason why I think that this could happen is Respawn is the people that originally made Call of Duty Modern Warfare. They went on to make Apex Legends and Titanfall. These guys are the best in the industry when it comes to shooting mechanics. Granted, all their shooting mechanics are done in first person, but I mean, come on, whatever. Third person, I'm sure they could pull it off with flying colors. I mean, they pulled off an action adventure game, which we all had skeptic thoughts about before the game came out. Like, how is this game developer with a pedigree for first person shooters doing a Metroidvania Soulsborne game, huh? What? And it turns out to be like game of the year for many people. So if anybody's going to pull it off, they can. But also another thing here is the fact that he is trying to stay under the radar of the Empire more than ever. I mean, he's come face to face with Vader at this point. So sorry, spoilers at this point. This game's been out for a while. I'm sure people here have already seen that at this point. But yeah, so he's trying to stay under the radar. So he's maybe going to use the blaster as opposed to the lightsaber. But I'm thinking that there's going to be a fusion, kind of like Devil May Cry or something, where you're slashing the guy, then you pull out the gun, shoot somebody a few times, and hit him with the saber again. Something more like that. I don't think it's going to be a full-blown cover system where you're shooting. It's just not the type of game this is. But mix and matching some different kind of styles would be fun here. All right, moving on to the next one here. We have a Wampa that is not in its usual habitat, a brown fur-colored Wampa in what's looking like a foresty area. So one of the great things about Fallen Order was the sentient life that you had to actually kill, like the animals and different things like that. Plenty of giant spiders, giant bat-like creatures, everything in between, little caterpillar thingies all over the place. And that's what's great about Fallen Order, is it expands the galaxy bestiary, if you will. So Yeah, I never expected to see a Wampa in this kind of place, but it makes sense, I guess.
It makes sense because in a sense, like the Wampas are like the Star Wars version of bears.
Yep.
And you have like your polar bear and your like black bear, grizzly bear. So like if the polar bear is the ice wampa from Hoth, then this is your like grizzly wampa from a forest or alpine planet. So I thought this was awesome. I think with the character almost looks like the creature almost looks like a minotaur, like it's really imposing. So really cool design. I love this.
And he's huge. I feel like he's bigger than a normal Wamp. I know they made it that reason to like make it easier as a boss battle or something, but still, like this thing looks huge.
Yeah.
It definitely has that Ralph McQuarrie feel to it, though, how it's designed.
Yeah, that's good attention to detail. Oh man, this wasn't even on my radar. But the Dark Trooper design is one of my favorites in Star Wars. I love seeing them in Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast. I flipped out when I seen them in Mandalorian Season 2. These look different. This is like the prototype. This is more droid than human-esque that we've seen in the Dark Troopers in Mandalorian. But these guys look badass. But again, one of the things I liked was just the way you kill droids in the first game. Just like completely bisecting them, right? It's very much like gory without the gore because it's a robot, but it's just like you imagine if that was a person, it'd just be like blood everywhere kind of thing. Although it is a lightsaber. But what were your guys' thoughts on seeing a cool enemy type like the Dark Troopers here?
Yeah, I honestly wasn't surprised to see it. I mean, it looks cool. I mean, it's something that's familiar, because I think the first time I saw one was in the Mandalorian show. I mean, it looks cool. Like I said, I'm just curious to see like what type of like. I mean, how's the Empire going to figure out this kid? I mean, do they know about him?
Oh, they know about him already.
Because like it looks like he's attacking some type of like Imperial facility or something.
Definitely.
I'm curious to see how they're going to like go after him.
Yeah, because they sent like several Inquisitors after him in the first game. They clearly know who he is at this point. It's just, and how has he survived for 5 years is another question. And what's cool is we'd even get a chance, and we'll talk about it later on as we see another close-up image, but just the idea of Cal, like how far he has aged in like 5 years is kind of crazy. Like this guy looks like he's like 10 years older or 15 years older because he has gone through some stuff at this point. Grizzled, got the facial hair. He's got some scratches and everything else on him. It's crazy. But
so let me jump in here real quick. So just excuse my ignorance because I don't know the story that well. So in the first game, how old is he?
I think he's about 18 or so in the first game.
Okay. He's been on the run for like 10 years or something at that point?
5 years at that point. Yeah. So he was like 13 during Order 60. He looked like he was 12 or 13 or something in that range. He was a Padawan.
All right. Do we know the setting for this game? Like what's the time period for this?
Yeah, this is 5 years after that. So this is like 10 years after Revenge of the Sith. So he's going to be...
So this takes place around Kenobi time then?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Solo.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Well, here's something to throw out to you guys. Now for obviously me and Chris have watched the interview with Cameron Monaghan, but Milton, have either you and the other Chris talked about or seen the Cameron Monaghan, like that little 10-minute interview that he did?
Yes, I did. Yes,
okay,
I did. That was great.
Mm-hmm.
So I was going to bring this up. I noticed in my notes before we went live here. Now, I don't know about you guys, but man, like obviously the Fallen Order franchise is big and everything, of course. But my thing is, he seemed almost like kind of cryptic, in that interview, like because they asked him like about like a happy ending and stuff and all this stuff, and like. He was just basically like, it's like, from whoever's perspective it can be and this sort of stuff. Like, I don't know. To me, it's just like, is he going to get knocked off by the end of this game? Like,
it's
just like, man, you can't kill him off this quick, right?
Oh man, 2 games. It's like if this game is another 20 hours, it's like 40 hours worth of Cal Kestis. So I mean, it's a lot more than any of the other Star Wars characters have gotten. And he's got a really well-rounded story. There's flashbacks in it that see him as a Padawan and everything else. But Chris, I want to. Yeah.
What we're not realizing is this is like another popular gaming franchise that has a sequel game that is crossing over right now into live action, and Cal's gonna just die at the beginning of the movie or of the game. It's all gonna be about a different character.
Oh my gosh!
It's gonna be like what's that trash G.I. Joe movie with The Rock? They kill off like Channing Tatum's character in like the first 5 minutes. And I was like, all right.
Oh man, but Chris, I want to thank you for coming on to Outer Rim Transmission tonight, giving us your thoughts on everything from the Acolyte to Jedi Survivor. I wanted to get your thoughts on the game, so thanks again for joining us. And can you tell the people where they can find you and talk to you online?
Yeah, you can follow me on social media at Seek3PO, SEEK3PO, and then follow at Culture Slate and at the SWU for more great Star Wars content, gaming content, and beyond.
Yeah, so go over there, subscribe any place you can. Thanks again, man. And, well, if I don't see you on a podcast, I'll probably be seeing you across the pond at some point in April.
Definitely. It was great meeting you guys, too.
Yep, nice meeting you, man.
Hey, man, have a good one. Nice to meet you.
All right.
Have a great night. Adios. All right, so we're going to pick up where we left off here in our breakdown, our very extensive breakdown. It's crazy because we still have to do a whole other trailer. I'm going to try to get to this a little faster. I know. I could talk about this for 2 hours. Why'd they have to put out two trailers one week? But we got Bode, this new character named Bode, and he has not been featured in anything else before. It looks like he might be some kind of smuggler character. It's cool to see Cal getting a new friend after what we've seen before about him possibly like losing the Stinger Mantis crew or something like that. It's crazy, but this piqued my interest. Yeah.
Well, I was going to throw out there really quick, actually, before we dive into this character. You just made me think about it, actually. So, while we were talking about it, the Empire obviously knows who Cal is. So maybe that's your answer right there. That's why he's not with the crew, because maybe, he just told him like, hey, like, I got to get away from you. Kind of like Luke in The Last Jedi, like getting away from the First Order type deal. Like he has to just kind of be alone. So maybe that's your answer right there, actually.
Okay. Yeah, Milton, what's your thoughts on this character here? Well, let me change that a little bit. Sorry, I'm trying to juggle like producing here.
You're good. Oh boy, I mean, at first when I ain't gonna lie, I thought this was like a ninja when I first saw this. I was like, oh, like this like Batman or something. Like he's up there. Like I assume this is a Force user. I assume because like they're high. No, I mean it's a cool shot. It's a beautiful image. I have no idea what this character is going to be. I'll be honest with you. Like my ignorance about this franchise is like appalling because I haven't played the game yet. So. Yeah.
But from this image here, I hope this is gameplay, because this was one of the wishes I had on my wish list for a sequel with this game, if we got one, which we are now, which is awesome, is the fact that maybe we could have like a pseudo like companion that we can walk around in the game with, that can interact. And there was that one fight with Malicos on Dathomir where you don't control the character of Mirren, the Night Sister, Marin, but she does like hit the guy with a couple like Dathomir Night Sister magic at some point. So it's cool because these guys are teaming up in a more physical way, where like the dude's jumping off of Cal's back and then smashing the trooper in the face with the gun with the blaster. I was like, oh, if we could actually, if they're showing us like some companion combat, even if it's like the one game Guardians of the Galaxy that they had a year ago, where like you didn't control the characters, but you could press a button and your guy would like assist you and he would run onto the field and like use a move or something. Like that would be really cool if you could like call out like targets with somebody.
I mean, look, well, we've had that in Star Wars games before. Heck, go clear back to Republic Commando. You could use the directional pad and like send your troop, have the squad fall back, have them go into attack mode, search and destroy, whatever, defend this area. Like, you could do those types of commands. So maybe, like you said, this will be a camp companion for you to do that sort of stuff with the Mantis crew being absent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so looking at this image here, we have a cool beast that Cal's slicing, throwing his lightsaber. Again, just like the Wampa, it's great to see new character designs that are in the game here. This was effing cool. So this is the acknowledgement that you can also use double blade lightsaber. Again, I mean, that's not a huge surprise, but they were only showing like the one saber for a while in the trailer. But also, B1 battle droids. Again, these guys are... There's a lot of them, right? This is perfect because when you have battle droids, they aren't very good by themselves. You have to have a large amount of them. And as we see, it's like Cal's doing like a ricochet boomerang throw with the lightsaber, just bisecting all these droids. And they're holding these cool different weapons. And I get the idea that there's some kind of fringe outlaw element that has reprogrammed these droids to have these like melee weapons. They look beat down, but man... I'm just so ready to kill B1 battle droids with a lightsaber combat of this game. It's going to be so satisfying, just like wiping these guys out like I'm on the Pisaki arena on Geonosis or something.
I can see this being, honestly, from what I looked at initially, this could be like a training sequence maybe.
Oh, okay.
I'm that's what I'm thinking. I mean, I could be completely wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I think... like you mentioned, Chris, it's going to be exciting to be able to like fight them, whether it's like you said, Milton, either training sequence or in actual combat. Like, I think just the reintroduction of them also to me raises the interesting flag of it makes me wonder if later in the game, after you get through the B1s, are you going to run into some super battle droids?
That's interesting.
That sort of stuff. Just to up the difficulty level, because we have better force powers, presumably, like building off the last game. So, like I mentioned earlier, you're having to face harder opponents since your force powers are better. It would make sense you're facing harder droids eventually. Like if we're gonna get B1 droids, maybe it's the beginning of the game, and then maybe later they up it to super ones.
Oh.
After that.
I like where you're going with that. Because we got some beefy versions of the super battle droids in some of the Clone Wars. I feel like they gave them more armor or something. That could be cool there. Next up, we have this image. Now, this is the same character. I think that's from that Back to Tank. I think he's working with this fringe element. He's got like a comlink looking shaver device. We know that Gillette shaver, that was the comlink from the Phantom Menace, the little gribbly device there. It's like he's talking about like this thing is the greatest weapon. Like what this is a communication device. If that's what I think it is. It's like who the heck is this guy gonna call? Right? I mean, this is a guy that is in the tank most likely. Is there something else at play here? Maybe he's calling Star Killer. I don't know. I'm gonna keep playing that card, but it's cool. It's cool seeing this other character in here.
Yeah, I mean, if that the comlink, if that communicator is could be a weapon, obviously not figuratively as an actual weapon, it would be who's he gonna call? And maybe Star Killer, maybe Vader, maybe
y'all tripping, I don't know, with whoever. That Star Killer like prediction. There's no way. Listen, this
is my thing with it, Milton. Like, I just feel like there's too many. I don't know about you, Chris. I mean, like I said, I've only gone through the game one whole time, and that was when it literally first came out. But my thing with it is, Cal feels, this game, obviously, it's kind of like our, what's a good example? Like, Boba Fett is the Mandalorian. Like, the Mandalorian show, that should have been the Boba Fett show. Like, to me, Fallen Order is the Star Killer game with a different character. We still got Boba Fett and Mando. To me, it's a similar type situation. Like, maybe, so with the similarities being so similar, maybe by the end of the game, your final, like, foe is going to end up being Starkiller, just because like they won't be able to resist using that character, because it's like, think about the hype for the marketing, for the buzz around the game and that sort of things. Like,
oh my god.
I mean, then again, I guess it could be maybe Chris, maybe we don't get any of that stuff till the very dead end of the game, and that's Fallen Order 3. You know, maybe your final Fallen Order 3 person is Starkiller. But I do think they're going to introduce Starkiller in maybe this franchise. I think he's got to come into the games at some point. Like, it's too much money in the bank.
No, and if they were going to put him in a game, this would be the game to do. This is your premier Jedi game, right? This is your premier Jedi game. You're not going to put him in Battlefront. You're not going to put him in an RTS, real-time strategy, or a Star Wars, whatever. This is the type of game that you would be putting him in.
I will caveat my entire statement, though, with I would prefer him to make a live-action debut first with Sam Witwer, but if they don't want to do that, then throw him in a game.
I mean, the proof is in the pudding. I mean, you got Cameron Monaghan's exact likeness in this video game. He's 100% acting. Like, when he goes to play this character, they're not rendering. He's actually in that suit, talking. Like, there's behind the scene. He's got the headset on. What they do for the movies, like Maz Kanata's, what they do with Snoke, with Andy Serkis. He's legit on the actual scene, like acting and everything.
Well, you guys know what we need then? You guys know what we need to do then? We need to just have Fallen Order 3, just make that a movie, and have Sam Witwer face off against Cameron Monaghan.
I mean, they did the same mocap, or at least that's the technology at the time with Sam Witwer.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, I remember when, like, because it's funny because when you guys are saying this, it reminds me of Christian Harloff always deriding, saying, "Oh, Plagueis is coming in the sequels.
Yeah.
Plagueis is coming in oh, he's gonna be." And I'm thinking, "Oh my God, dude, stop!" Because they're not gonna put him in there. Like, we have these. Okay, I am conditioned by Star Wars and Lucasfilm now to be like, keep your expectations here.
In the mud.
Dude, I'm telling you, because honestly, Chris, please don't be disappointed when Starkiller's not in that game. I'm telling you right now. Just be like, all right, Milton said it. He was right. Like, dude, because I don't want you to be devastated, my man. Like, 'cause I know how much you love that character. Like we all love the character. And that's why I'm just like, if they put him in, do it right.
Put it this way: if he's not in the game, we're getting Quinlan Voss in this game. All right.
All right.
He's alive. He's alive. They said it in Obi-Wan.
No, you're not. Listen, I just feel like this is what I think of Starkiller now. Starkiller is like a crown jewel character in Star Wars, in my opinion, just because his impact had on that first Force Unleashed game, and obviously Sam Witwer, when the acting and the voice of it, and how Sam is like Star Wars himself. I feel like it's an opportunity to have Sam Witwer. He's only like 40 years old. He can be the Starkiller in like a series or a couple movies.
Looks great.
Or he still looks great. I mean, he's a hell of an actor. So it's like, that's where you can, because again, he's not really mainstream when it comes to the video game from non-heavy Star Wars fans. Like if I told my friend who I'm watching Star Wars with tomorrow and say, "Hey, do you know who Starkiller is?" She's gonna be like, "Who the hell is that? Is that like a is that like a brand or something?" She wouldn't know. So it's like, but she knows who Luke Skywalker is. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, like she gets that. Knows who Han Solo is, like, because she's seen the movies first.
Yeah, I mean, to branch off of it, I mean, I definitely get where you're going with it. Like, yeah, that is a good point, Milton. Don't get our hopes up too high just yet.
Yeah, no, we've been there, we've done that. I'm gonna love this game, whether or not he's in it or not.
Chris, I'll be the first one. You know I will. I'll be the first one, whether it's in our chat or on here, to say I was wrong if he showed up. You know that.
Well, one thing to throw out there, guys. I wonder, non-Starkiller related. I was going to bring it up earlier, but not to drag like the other Chris's time. I wonder if they're going to start making Wampas be like the meme, like a different Wampa on every planet type thing now.
Ah.
You know, because it's like, now we got a Hoth one, we got another one now. Like, are we going to start seeing Wampas like everywhere?
Oh man! Now we're almost at the end here. We're almost at the end, everybody. We got a cool new gadget, which is another way of expanding the gameplay here. We got a cool like web slinging, like retractable whipcord that he's using, which is really cool. I think this environment could be Corellia, honestly. This looks like the sort of Durosteel concrete jungle, if you will, sort of location. But again, it's cool to see all these new locations first. Like, yeah, let's see the new stuff first, and if we get the old stuff when we're playing the game, hey, that's a nice surprise too. But yeah, it's cool to see new ways of traversal is the main thing I'm gathering from this.
Yeah, I mean, those type of aspects. Oh yeah, that's what I was. Oh, sorry, Melvin. Yeah, I think I was leaning kind of toward Corellia on that one as well, Chris. And then, it's nice having those type of elements in the game because, along with the animal, like riding the animals, or I guess creatures or whatever. I don't know what Star Wars animals are called. I guess animals, but being able to ride the different animals in the new game as well. Like it just makes me think, now with this like grappling thing, is it, you're going to have different parts of the missions where you're going to have to be using that to get to that, to go to there. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be like an integral piece to the game, which is nice because, like, to me anyways, I like having all of these different types of things in any games, not just Star Wars games. Like, give me realistic stuff that we could do in the real world. Like, because in the real world, you're not just going to jump around and stuff. Like, you're going to whip out a rope and climb, or you're going to, do different types of things. So it's nice that they're adding just those, like, little bits of, like, real elements to, like, what you would be doing in those situations versus just, like, your stock climb or jump or run or force push or whatever.
Yeah, and then in this other image here, this reminds me of Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga. You could do this with Jedi and Sith characters where you like literally jam your lightsaber into the wall and you like use it to climb up. In this case, he's actually using it to slide down a wall of what looks like the same location that we were speculating upon just a minute ago. There we go. This is the money shot if you ever have one. This is a cross guard lightsaber in Star Wars Survivor. Holy crap. Like, I better see some really cool weapon design with this or weapon specializations, because I remember when there was so much speculation, you guys probably remember this, all the talk about Kylo Ren's lightsaber in that first initial teaser trailer. People were talking for hours about the potential of just these two extra little things coming off the side of the hilt, like how much that would be. And they do use it pretty well in the actual movie. Like he uses the burn Finn, then he uses it to like dismantle or disarm him with those little prong things. So I'm really hoping to see some really cool way of doing the same type of moves as Kylo Ren with that thing.
I remember that teaser trailer too. For what I remember, a lot of people were skeptical about that saber at first. They were weird. They're like, why would he have a cross guard? But no, I think obviously people learned to love it because it is a dope looking saber, and we didn't really see nothing at that time. I mean, again, this is something that's familiar, but also I guess new to him. And I guess it would be new for a lot of people, and this timeline of Star Wars.
Yeah.
No, I mean it'd be dope. Like, let's be real here. If I had a real lightsaber in real life, I want a cross guard. Like that'd be dope.
Yeah. It's actually they're pretty prevalent in the High Republic. There's one Jedi Master character named Stellan Gios who has a very similar. It's a blue one that looks very similar to what Cal's has. So it's not out of the realm of possibility, but it's seeing it in more of a live action esque type of thing is really cool. And the last shot we're going to talk about tonight is the inclusion of the good old commando droids in this game. These guys are getting a lot of love. I thought they were the droid gotcha at one point, but looking closer, there's a bunch of assassin droids, a bunch of commando droids here from the good old Clone Wars. Different kind of paint job, but if you play these guys in Battlefront 2, they have that nasty little blade move that they do on you. And again, the Trade Federation or the Separatists or whoever, Techno Union, are very well represented in Jedi Survivor. So I'm happy. I'm happy again. Just like all the droids. Give me all the droid characters of beat up.
Here. Oh yeah, it's great getting the commando droids because it just furthers kind of my speculation as well of like, hey, look, we saw the B1 droids, now up to the commando droids. It makes me think you're going to have to progress to those droids by facing the supers and the droidicas and and so on and so on. So it's just great getting to see them. And then, like you mentioned, of course, like in Battlefront, how tough they are, and it's going to be fun being able to actually like face them with Cal at whatever point in the game you are, when you do face them.
You're still on mute, Chris.
Chris,
there was the entire in-depth discussion for you guys. We're not done yet. We're going to go rather quickly through the Bad Batch. What was your guys' first initial impressions? I'll give it to Milton. Did you get a chance to watch the trailer?
I did. I watched it yesterday.
All right.
I'm not happy that Sid's back because that character's trash, dude. Oh my god. Initial thoughts, honestly, the trailer it looked good. It did what it needed to do. I mean, it didn't hype me up to say like, oh man, I cannot wait till Bad Batch gets back. I'm hoping that I'm surprised. I'm hoping that the storytelling is sharper. What is like 16 episodes or something for this season?
Yeah, 16.
Something like that. Yeah. So like I'm hoping that the storyline is sharper because again, a lot of our genuine or our consensus last year and our complaints was the odd missions that they went on that didn't really make any sense or crossfire what was it what was the name? Crosshair. He wasn't hunting them down the whole time and all just stupid stuff that should have been done. I'm hoping that we get rid of all that crap and just like focus on a good strong narrative that's going to one, build the Bad Batch, two, include things that ended in last season, but also move the story further. Like I don't need this unnecessary Sid stuff. So what I saw from the trailer, it showed us what they're trying to do. Now again, how trailers are, they definitely don't give us everything. But I was impressed with what I seen. I just wasn't hyped for this season. I'm going to watch it. Just didn't take my breath away.
Same here. This is like the third trailer. Oh, go ahead, Ben.
Oh, go on, Chris.
This is like the third trailer we've seen. I've seen the one at Celebration. The one released to the public a couple months later was a little bit different. And this had more of the same, but a couple added things. So, yeah, I was beginning to worry, honestly. I was looking at the calendar. I'm like, we are literally less than a month away. Lucasfilm is very predictable when it comes to releasing their content. There's always like a trailer like 2 to 3 months out. And then at that 1 month point, there's always a trailer too. So we were under that month. I was like, are they going to just give us a statement from the Bad Batch? We are delaying this again for another 3 months. I was ready for that announcement this week. And so I was happy to see that we got a reaffirmation that it is coming on the 4th of January. And we got some cool new things to talk about. Granted, we've talked about a lot of this stuff before, so this is going to be a rather quick look at a lot of this stuff. We'll start with the first shot here. But Ben, what were your thoughts before we get on?
Oh yeah, I mean, I can echo both of your guys' thoughts. Like, I think to me, it didn't. Like I mentioned earlier, does the trailer raise your excitement level? For me, it really didn't. It kind of just kept it straight. You know what I mean? Like it just kept it the same wavelength. Just because it was like, all right, so you can tell obviously we're there was some cool stuff. There was some cool things in the trailer. We'll get into those. But to me, I did feel a bit of apprehension when you hear Sid talking like 2 seconds into the trailer and her talking about having a job or something for them to do. And I'm like, oh no, like, especially with it being 16 episodes, I'm like, please don't make it be like 10 Sid missions. Please.
No.
Please.
Dude, I'm going to tell you right now.
That's what I'm scared of, Milton, is like, are we going to get an awesome 2-episode premiere, awesome 2-episode finale, awesome 2-episode middle, and then the other 10 episodes in between are going to be all gunk?
Yeah. I'm going to tell you right now, Chris, if that happens, I'm not reviewing the show with you guys.
I don't blame
I'm
you.
not. I'm being dead serious. I'm being dead. Listen, we can do the podcast, and if it's a shitty episode, Milton, hey, what do you think about this episode? Hey, just take me off right now. I'm not talking about it, or I'll just mute it because like that, like it. Those missions are like that's my fear too. Because why would you show her in the trailer?
Yeah.
No way people liked that character last year. No way, because it's always. I think we said last year. Every time we have like a good little arc going, they throw her in, and it just down. I was like, "What are we doing?"
You hit a brick wall head on.
Well,
here's. Like, go ahead.
There's not, and I hate to sound negative. I try to keep things positive.
Well,
on the show.
Go ahead. You should, especially about Sid.
All right, but we're coming off of Obi-Wan. We're coming off of Andor. We're coming off of Tales of the Jedi. All shows that had rather deep discussions embedded in them, that had depth, that had layers. Unfortunately, the Bad Batch doesn't have anything like that on a lot of occasions.
Disappointing.
It's very surface level. A lot of those, but those episodes specifically, I'm talking about Infected, the episode that Ben thought was going to be the best episode ever. You know, stuff like that. Like,
that is one of the biggest letdowns for me in Star Wars TV. Is that trash being the 14th episode of the series, and I won't forget it either, because I literally stayed up till 3 a.m. with my buddy, and we were watching it, and 5 minutes in, they're like, "Yeah, there's Sid's like, there's bugs underground," and I'm like, "Oh no!" Like, we're actually doing a bug story, and it versus like, you know. I assumed it was going to be the Bad Batch, like the Order 66 chips malfunctioning, or, you know, something like that. But nope. So that's my only fear is, and also, you know, just to throw out there as well, I could have given them more slack on that episode. That just shows lack of awareness on the whole series as a whole from last season. Those episodes, if you're going to have that type of junk in it, that should be like episode 3 of the season, not episode 14, you know? So, like, I hope there's a better, even if we have filler episodes, I just hope there's a better management of them, you know, versus, like, putting them toward the build-up to the finale.
Yeah. So I want to get into some breakdown images here. The first one is... I gotta pick this. This is a beautiful color palette. I mean, you look at the final episode of season 1. It was a dark, grim episode. It was the destruction of the prequel trilogy as we know it, with the destruction of the Tapoca City on Camino. There's no more clones. There was the hard line drawn. This is now the dark times of the Star Wars timeline. But we're opening up to a bright, colorful, tropical island here. The place looks great. It's a relatively risky, like, it's not life-threatening. They're running away from these crab type of things, right? It's nothing crazy, but it seems like, oh, this is what Bad Batch is a lot of the times, a fun, high-action adventure. And it's just nice to see that the color palette being so varied, and also just the CGI. I'm looking at these like mangrove-looking trees right now, and it looks borderline live action. Like, just the lighting, everything looks so freaking good. A big step up already from season 1.
Yeah, it looks great. I mean, the color wise, I mean, it definitely kind of got a budget for sure. I mean, I see this as us picking up in the beginning of the show. This is where they settled. I think we're going to see this island a lot, honestly. This is going to be like their base of operations, in my opinion, where they're going to, this is where they live.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about it. They're used to living on water. I mean, this is probably comfortable for them as like soldiers and whatnot. So, as Clone War soldiers, yeah, I could see this being where they live.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good call, Milton. I could definitely see that because, you know, that's one thing in Star Wars we don't really have a lot of, you know, because, you know, whether it be, you know, on screen anyways, like Han Solo, the Falcon, the Ghost crew living in the Ghost, like, you know, these characters always living in ships, you know, on screen anyways. Obviously, they have lives like elsewhere, but, you know, I could definitely see this ending up being like their little like home base, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that could be, because they were basically at Ord Mantell before, just going back and forth. So it's cool to get a different color palette. We got a new image here, a new costume. Finally, new costume. We've seen this image before from the previous trailer. A lot of this is footage we've already seen. Just a cool scout helmet. She's finally going incognito. I mean, it was ridiculous how long she was wearing those Camino robes. Like, everybody could know she was a clone. Duh. You know, you got the symbol on there and everything. Like, what the heck?
I'm curious to see. Yeah, go ahead, Ben.
I was just saying, it's nice that like maybe finally they the Bad Batch, they're like, well, maybe we need to change her outfit. You know, since the Empire is out and about and looking for her potentially, like. Maybe it is smart to finally change it up from like the Camino gear. So it's nice, like, hey, that's something. Finally, she's got upgraded because man, if we would have gotten through this whole season 2 of her wearing Camino garb, I would have been like on fire about
it.
I'm curious to see like how she's evolved as a character.
Yeah, I mean, she is a big deal. I can't wait to see how she factors in with the rest of Star Wars, if I'm being honest. I mean, basically the sister of Boba Fett, like we never knew there was another clone that was unalterated clone and all this kind of stuff, all altered. It's neat to see. We're still seeing that crossover between prequels and original trilogy with this shot here of some glorious looking LAATs, the good old clone trooper transport still in effect, even though we have the LATE or whatever the hell the other ones are called that were in the underworld of Star Wars Clone Wars, but it's nice to see some familiar sights there. We have a new character here. This character is played by Wanda Sykes, comedian. Looks like she's also one of the compatriots of good old Sid. So I'm just to see a new blood in the show, prolific comedian and actress. So we're gonna see and hear a new voice in Star Wars here, which is always a good thing.
I like Wanda Sykes.
Yeah.
She's always been a funny actress, funny comedian to me. However, hopefully this is a good fit for Star Wars. I'm not, you know me, I'm gonna keep it real. I don't care. Look, I love LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Kobe, whoever. If they wanted to do voice a character in Star Wars and it's trash, I'm letting you know. Like Wanda Sykes, if it's garbage, I'm letting you know.
That's true. I'm kind of my little prediction on this, especially since stemming from like the previous shows like Clone Wars and Rebels and things like that. I think there's a chance this character ends up becoming our Hondo of the Bad Batch.
Interesting. I'm very interested. Like, if we don't ever see Hondo, I'll be very surprised because he has a tendency to pop up in almost all the animated stuff. By the way, her character's name is Fee Genua, like Genoa salami. Fee Genua.
Interesting.
Interesting stuff there. Moving on to our next image to break down here. Let's see. We have another one of Omega. We have... Oh, here we go. Looks like we have Admiral Rampart back. We got the Proto Stormtrooper Macquarie design. Neat to see that kind of Rebels Macquarie influence here with just not quite the Stormtroopers that we know and love, but that was one of the best things I liked. One of my favorite things about Bad Batch Season 1 is to see that literal line drawn in the sand of like, okay, this is when the clone troopers are here, and this is literally the transition when they're on this like green planet with this base and they've seen this. That was a really cool reveal to show the commandos training them essentially. So I'm ready to see more establishment of, okay, gone are the clones, in are the conscripted troopers.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, getting to more of the conscripted troopers, I think it is a really nice part of the series. That was, of course, one of the better shining parts of the first season. Like the few shining parts of the first season, I feel like was that specifically, and it makes me wonder: are we going to see more of the familiar troopers we know that were clone troopers, like transition to the actual stormtroopers? I mean, heck, look at even season 1. We had the Republic Commandos. I mean, potentially Scorch. Like, it makes me wonder if they're going to bring back maybe the Republic Commando squad with Stormtrooper outfit.
Heck yeah. As far as this next shot, it looks like we have some tempers running high between Hunter and Tech. Well, actually, no, this is not Tech. This is Echo.
What's the name? Echo.
Echo.
So that is.
I mean, it's. I mean, pretty much this shot right here. It's like we're back with old friends again. You know, like we know that they're brothers, and you know that they all have their issues individually. But I mean, this is typical. I mean, brothers fight. So
it's nice because that adds some more weight to the journeys of these characters. When we get those couple dialogue things that going on between the conversations going on between, just adds like more character development when they're bickering. They got this opinion on this versus this. We get to learn more about them. This here image, I was shocked honestly when I seen this, and it's not because I know this from another Star Wars thing. This, I hate to say, it feels like it's ripped off from Horizon Zero Dawn. This is a creature that is called a tall neck. And if you go and look this up on Google, you'll find something that looks very similar. It's like, what in the heck happened to get Lucasfilm to like approve this design? I don't know. I like how Sony doesn't sue them at this point because it looks so much like
interesting. I didn't know that, but very interesting. I'll have to Google that.
Yeah, Google tall neck and compare this image with that, and you're gonna find a lot of similarities. It's a cool design, but it just doesn't look Star Wars anyway to me. Like this doesn't. Yeah. This looks like too organic to be Star Wars, because basically the idea with Horizon Zero Dawn is it's like, I think I haven't played the game. I actually own the game. I haven't played it. Thousands of years in the future of America or something, and somehow the technology has evolved with AI, and now the technology has like basically turned itself into animal looking designs. So you have like giraffe things like this walking around, some large cats like saber-toothed tigers that are made of like metal and wires and stuff. So it's a very like post-apocalyptic cyberpunky-ish type of thing. So yeah, very, very surprised by that getting through, but we'll see what happens with that. Again, another image of a contemplative Omega. We don't have to spend any more time on this character, Sid.
Yeah, you can skip her all day. Yep, she looks the same. Trash.
Swipe left.
Ain't lying. I'm swiping left 3 times.
We got what looks like an Acclimator or a Venator star class cruiser there. Pretty cool stuff.
Is that a star? I look. Originally, I thought that was like one of the old like Star Destroyers or Clone Wars Star Destroyers.
I think it is, isn't it? Or no?
Is it? Is that what it is?
I think.
I was thinking that's what it was.
Maybe. I will say, see, here's the thing. I think here's my beef with this show though, because the visuals look so good, and you know I always praise the animation of Star Wars. Like they're so good at telling stories and the way it looks. I mean, if I didn't know this was an animated show, I would be like, oh, that looks like an actual live like ship or real life
shot,
ship.
yeah.
No shot, and like I feel like with Bad Batch, Chris, you made a point earlier about they're very surfacey, their storytelling, and not really going in depth sometimes. That shocks me because Tales of the Jedi does that. They do a really good job at going in depth. Clone Wars did that. Tales of the Jedi. Rebels. Visions. And those are short stories that pretty much quote unquote aren't canon. That went into depth. It's like, my God, dude. Like that's why this show has been kind of disappointing to me thus far, just because like there's so much potential there. Like, come on, you know better. You know how to tell a story. The animation is the best part of Star Wars in the last 8 years. Like, so it's.
Oh yeah, I mean, heck, look what we started the podcast off with, the Fallen Order franchise. That story, like, it just, I don't know. To me, I hope I'm wrong about this, but it makes me wonder. All right, so, Tales of the Jedi is so nice because it's so compacted, and so, it's only like an hour and a half long or whatever. But it just makes me wonder if this show, however much Dave's involved with it, was he minimally involved again just because he's like busy with, the other stuff going on, like obviously the Mandoverse stuff, the priority stuff like Mando, Ahsoka, that sort of stuff. It just makes you wonder. I mean, I'm not sure if you guys saw, but Dave's writing 2 episodes of Mando season 3.
Oh.
So there's that he was working on. So it makes me wonder how much his involvement is on this show. And to that, it almost raises the question. Obviously, like, Dave's amazing and everything, but it's like, at some point, do we just need to let, if Dave could just give the bullet points, like, let someone else just fully dive into the story of the show and control it more, because I just don't want to see a lot of surface level stuff with this show. It has so much potential. Like, the characters have a lot of potential. Like, the main Bad Batch crew, you know, my favorite character from the series, Omega, I've liked her since the start for the most part. And it's just like, there's just so much there to tell. I mean, obviously, you could really dive into the stuff with Crosshair. It's just like, do we need to almost have another storyteller on the show, like, really getting dirty hands on it, like, getting into the mud on the show, versus, like, just kind of like Dave doing it remotely? And like, it's just like, you know, I'm kind of at that crossroads for myself.
I mean, I think it's just a matter of, it's good to not have Dave involved with everything, though, because it's good to have other creators in there, because it will get stale. As much as we like it, I think it would get stale eventually if he, like, touched literally every single thing, you know?
Oh, for sure. I think, honestly, with him, I really think he just needs to just do the live action, like, do the Mandoverse stuff. Like I said, he's did a couple episodes. Interesting note, guys. So by the looks of it, sounds like he did episode 4 and 7 of Mando season 3. But, you know, so you have him working on Mando, you have him working on Ahsoka. Like, it's just like, at this point, I just feel like maybe, you know, it may sound like blasphemy, but maybe we just need to have someone else work on Bad Batch.
Uh-oh.
Star Wars Twitter's gonna get me.
Yeah, thoughts on that, Milton?
None, because if it makes the show better, I'm good with it. I'm sorry, like, I'm just saying, like, the show like, again, that 2-hour premiere or whatever it was for season 1 was so dope.
Good.
I was thinking, oh man, another animation. I'm gonna, like, can't wait. Then it's like, okay, I'm seeing the cracks, and then it's like, oh, okay, I'm seeing the gaps, and it's like, oh, okay, I'm seeing the freaking, like, cliff fallout. So it's like, what are we doing? So it's
we're just watching the car crash.
Yeah, pretty much. So hopefully they've learned from season 1 and say, let's keep it consistent. Like, pretty much the last 2 seasons of Clone Wars, just do how you did it with that. Like, it was perfect. You know, like, come on.
Yeah, so this next image here, I don't know if you guys got a shot of this in the other trailer, but yeah, this is our good buddy, Commander. Good old Commander. What's his name? Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his name. Cody? Commander Cody. It's getting late, I guess. All right, I'm starting to not remember major character names. Oh, yeah. What's going on? So this is cool.
Oh, yeah, it's great getting to see him. I feel like, again, this falls into our expectations thing, but it would be nice if he was the main person hunting down the Bad Batch crew, but I don't know. I mean, Crosshair, he wasn't hunting them until, like, the 12th episode, so I don't know. Like the first season of the show kind of made me jaded on and skeptical on a lot of these images, but to try to be positive about it, maybe Cody is, like, the guy hunting the Bad Batch crew down.
That's cool. I like that idea. Because there's a moment in the trailer where it's like, hey, not the the Empire's good, and he's like the one saying that to those people, trying to get them on their side, you know. So he still seems steadfast in that, but he also seems like he's questioning it a little bit. So hey, we're gonna get some development on Cody. Who would ever thought? He's just like, oh, we assume he's gonna be like an evil clone like the rest of them after a while, just flipping the switch and you never see him again. So cool stuff. This next image here is neat. Connects with another image we'll talk about. This could be on Kashyyyk. We got a Trandoshan just spreading flames. That's a very evocative image there. The next one, very cool. I think this is Tarful, guys. I think what we're seeing is kind of something that was deleted or not used from Clone Wars Season 7 or 8, where they had like a Kashyyyk arc with the Bad Batch. Then it wasn't used. So we see like there's repurposed AAT tanks from the Separatists with Trandoshans, and the Trandoshans are the sworn enemy of the Wookiees. They're always going to the planet and hunting them. We've seen that in Clone Wars on that one planet, which was an awesome episode. So yeah, I think we might get some really cool action here on this planet here. I think this is Kashyyyk.
Oh yeah,
That'd be pretty dope. Yeah, that'd be pretty dope. Just because, like I said, I like that planet. I think we need more of it, like in Star Wars for sure.
Oh yeah, you could definitely see this being Kashyyyk, especially I don't know, it just feels like we haven't been there in a while in terms of like the shows. So, it's about time.
Yep. Let's see. Yeah, we got different outfits now for the characters. So this is something I wanted to point out. It looks like the armor's looking a little bit more uniform with one another, at least with Tech and Wrecker. It's good to see Wrecker in here.
Yeah, now do we have an idea? I'm not sure if you heard anything when you were at Celebration, Chris. Do you have any idea the timeline, like how far past season 1 this is?
I think they said it's a couple months or something.
Oh, okay, so it's shortly after.
It might even be in the press release they had on StarWars.com, if I'm not mistaken. This next,
looks like
yeah. The next shot here, we have some droids. They look like they're maybe from the droid Gatra, or they're from the Haxion Brood, maybe from Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. That'd be cool if we got a nice little tie-in. This would be right around that time, kind of getting closer to it anyway.
But now, what droids are these? I've never seen these.
All right, so in Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, there's like a new bounty hunter guild called the Haxion Brood, and these guys basically are cybernetic bounty hunters. Like, they take pleasure, I guess, in like modify. I guess like the mods from the Book of Boba Fett. Like, these people just voluntarily just like cut off their limbs, make them more cybernetic, more machine than man, as a Sith Lord once said, that sort of thing. So they're different, and they all have these like different hat things. That's what piked me on this interest, is like, oh, droids with those hats. Could it be those people? Maybe. I don't know.
Might be.
Nice.
This is neat. We got another image of Gunji. We've seen him before. We've seen him using the Force to pull back his lightsaber there. This also got a rise from me. This might have been one of the money shots for me. This looks straight out of the Attack of the Clones, guys. The good old speeder chase through the Coruscant nightlife in that certain tunnel. Like, we're actually going to Coruscant? Yep. Holy crap.
Yeah, I love seeing that shot, actually. And like you said, it's like, especially going to Coruscant in this time period, like, just because it's, the Empire's heavily dominating and controlling the galaxy now, so it's just like, man, that we're going into like the heart of like, the worst place to go to, probably.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that in Andor, right? The rebels are working underneath the nose of the Emperor right there. It's like the place that is least expected is literally at the base of operations.
Right.
Uh-huh. All right. I don't know what this was supposed to be from. Oh, yeah, it's just a bunch of battle droids. That's right. I was like, yes, there's battle droids in this as well. So we're going to get a celebration of battle droids in the month of March. At this point, I'm not even ruling out that they'll be in Mandalorian Season 3, along with everything else.
Hey, if they start amping up marketing for battle droid products, we know they're coming.
we got the great helmet design of Commander Cody here. Nothing has changed. Still got the yellow markings. So these are interesting characters. It's the settlers or whatever this planet is. These are the people that Commander Cody is like, hey, join the Empire. It's good. It's a good place to be part of. And from a certain perspective, we've been seeing a lot of that in the current canon and stuff. Like, hey, there is a good aspect of being part of the Empire, because if you are a crime-ridden world, you will have order. You won't have to worry about like just getting gunned down in the street randomly by some outlaw guy. So certain people are down with the Empire ruling, but they just don't see what they really are until it's too late.
I mean, they offer stability. I mean, for that quick fix, and that's what they say.
Mm-hmm. We got a good old Venator class Star Destroyer in this site, so they're still using that Republic tech, slowly phasing that out. The Emperor's back. I wonder if he'll be played by Ian McDermott, because Ian McDermott played him in that Tales of Jedi. Something's telling me probably not, because I think he's probably going to be in this a little bit more than we've seen in Tales of Jedi, but I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, that was my favorite shot. This was my favorite shot throughout the whole trailer. I mean, just being in the rotunda, and like, seeing Palpatine, like look, anything with Palpatine, I'm watching. I don't
go on, Milton.
Say anything with Palpatine, I'm watching. So I guarantee he's in. This has to be the premiere episode. Like they're going to hype us up by showing him. So he's got to be in the first 2 episodes for sure.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, I'm calling it now. I bet you to go off of our whole like transition from the clones to the stormtroopers in the first episode, in the first, the beginning part of season 1. I bet you they're going to do something like that, like Palpatine basically saying like, we're fully transitioned away from the old ways, or blah 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 blah, like something along those lines. Just because it's like they're not saving Palpatine for episode 9 of the series or 10 of the series. Like it's gonna be the premiere most likely, just because of that fact. Like you gotta draw people in somehow.
Mm-hmm. Bail Organa. We've seen him in Tales of the Jedi. We're seeing him here. This is going to be the early part of his career with the Rebellion. I can't wait to see how he's integrated into the story. Are we going to see him dealing behind the lines? I fully expected to see him in Andor. I'm sure we'll see him in season 2. So I'm very curious to see how hopefully we get to see how he's orchestrating things behind the eyes of the Empire. Maybe we'll see him on Coruscant. Maybe we'll see Mon Mothma too, for that matter. There's a lot of potential here.
Oh,
for sure. I mean,
it's always great seeing Bail.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. And looking, so here we got Bail Organa. And next up here, this is another glorious shot. This reminds me of Anakin falling from the perspective of the speeder in Attack of the Clones. It's just the detail is insane. This is like movie quality, man. Just all the neon here is just, the lighting is just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. That's why it's like if I wasn't a fan, I'd be like, oh, is this like a animate? This is actually an animation. I'd question it, and like that should tell you something. So they have the potential to obviously make it look good, but then let's tell some good stories.
The animation's phenomenal.
This was something I didn't catch on my first watch through. This is actually Count Dooku's old hideout. Did you guys know that this was maybe Sereno, his throne room?
Oh no, I didn't even catch that. Interesting.
So we're gonna see the legacy of Dooku. I mean, we've seen so much in Tales of the Jedi, which was long overdue. I mean, we've known this character for 20 years. And the fact that we just finally started to see the layers peeled back and making him, even in some people's eyes, I know Milton agrees with this, is almost a sympathetic villain. Like, you understand what he did, why he did it. Maybe not necessarily the execution was the best at the end there for him, but you actually get to see where he's coming from. So maybe they'll discover some old hollow vids of him, like his journals or something, and him admitting to some things would be really neat, or him having backup plans of this or that, or talking about Sidious. That would be really cool if we can find out some Sith dealings or something.
That'd be popping for sure, because he's a dope character.
I mean, hey guys, it makes me think now that you pointed this out to us, Chris. I mean, maybe with all this stuff with the clones, there's a good chance. What if Omega just turns on a hologram and you see Dooku talking to Sifo Dyas about the clone army stuff? Maybe we get something like that just thrown in there. It's kind of a little cameo, for the fans who obviously connecting to Attack of the Clones and everything. I think there's a I mean, maybe we get something like that, especially with it being, where Dooku hung around.
Yeah, because we never did quite get like the actual definitive answer. Not that we really need it, but like how it went down. Like it still could be a little bit murky. Like, okay, so Dooku got the order from Sidious, and Dooku talked to his old buddy Sifo Dyas, who, by the way, if you listen to the Dooku Jedi Lost audio drama by Kevin Scott, he goes crazy. This Sifo Dyas character, over the years, has some kind of mental disability where he like literally loses his mind at certain points and has these like crazy visions. So I want to see if like he's represented like that as like a madman, and why Dooku would still trust them with this really important mission to begin with is beyond me. But yeah, I hope we do shed some light. I think that's a great point you brought up there, Ben, about some more connective tissue to the prequels.
Oh yeah.
And final screenshot I took is, this is not a huge surprise. I assumed he was going to come back, but we have Captain Rex giving the Bad Batch another mission to do. So I don't feel like this is any like side quest. I feel like the mission he's giving them is going to put their lives on the line. They're going to be maybe sacrificing a couple members for whatever the heck this cause is. Maybe Rex has been in contact with Bail, and he's the mediator to them, to giving them like some rebellion missions. Hopefully they get away from being mercenaries, because it's even mentioned in the description, I believe, for season 2, like they are still mercenaries. They're still just getting by like paycheck to paycheck. It's basically mission to mission, just surviving that way. So hopefully we see them have a greater cause. That's what I want from the end of this season.
And no, I think that would be a great character transition for them. It would make sense if it went that route.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You can definitely see it heading that way. And I agree with you, Chris. Like I think the whole thing with Rex is definitely probably like the main, like the main mission of the series. Like it's the main, whatever the big mission is, and then we'll have all the other little missions sprinkled in, like with that big mission in the background, like as the main objective. It'll be like the main objective with the different side quests, I would say. And hopefully the side quests are good. But yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was a nice way to end the trailer, especially since, hey, it gives us a little connective tissue back to season 1, because, when Rex leaves off, he talks about like a rendezvous point and all that stuff. And like, I think,
oh yeah,
remember it? Remember when he leaves off, he talks about like a rendezvous point on that hologram thing. So like maybe, or it's nice that they acknowledge even that point basically from season 1, like it's actually connecting. So I thought that was good. So it has to be something important, like you mentioned, whether it be from Bail, or heck, with it being presumably Dave Filoni, Ahsoka maybe, because at this point in the rebellion, Ahsoka is Fulcrum. Like she would be presumably doing rebellion related stuff. So maybe it's something having to do with her. I just think there's a lot of potential really for this series, especially the main reason I bring up Ahsoka is just because we see the presence of Force users now in this season. So it's just like,
oh yeah,
all right, maybe we get her.
Yeah. So, I think it's worth telling real quick before we go for tonight. We are done with the trailer breakdown. So if you want to actually see the images that we talked about, go on to youtube.com/Starrapter and check out our live video for episode 86. But this was a shocker. I put this out on Twitter. I said, oh my gosh, Lucasfilm is getting ahead of the game. They released all the episode titles and the dates that they are airing officially. This wasn't found out on some, other website that got a leak or something. They literally got ahead of the game and put this out. That's the first time Lucasfilm has ever done this, right, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, it's the first time that I can think of, and me, I'm always like, my bow and arrows are always pointing at Lucasfilm's PR, like it's like day and night they're ready to fire. So it's nice that they got ahead of it, or I guess got out with it, versus just letting it just be rumor and speculation. Like, it's like, why not? Like that's always my big thing with Lucasfilm, is like, look at Marvel. Like, they're under the same umbrella at Disney. Now, obviously not Lucasfilm, but they're under the same umbrella. And Marvel basically just gives us the game plan for the next 5 years for the most part. And
yeah.
And Star Wars is like, we're not going to give you the game plan for this afternoon, much less the next 5 years. So it's nice that they actually just hauled off and gave us the titles. And you know, I know you brought up a few points in the chat. I'm sure you want to bring up to our listeners about some of the titles like being interesting and like maybe more like implications and stuff.
Yeah. So first off, there is a brand new cool poster release. It's got Omega front and center, followed by Wrecker, Tech. We have Echo and Hunter, and their ship that I forget the name of. And interesting to note, Crosshair is not on this poster, nor anybody else. So a pretty simplistic poster. But yeah, let's get into the episode. So of course, like I said, off the bat, we're getting those 2 episodes like they said before. January 4th, we are getting episode 1, which is called Spoils of War, and episode 2, Ruins of War. January 11th, we get episode 3 of season 2, The Solitary Clone. Who could that be? January 18th, we have Faster. January 25th, we have Entombed. February 1st for episode 6, we have Tribe. Now, February 8th is technically the mid-season finale or something like that, which is funny because there's no break in between the next week. It just goes right into it. But we have 2 episodes anyway on February 8th. Episode 7 called The Clone Conspiracy. Maybe we'll come back to that in a second. As well as episode 208, Truth and Consequences. Then we have February 15th. We have episode number 9, The Crossing. On February 22nd, episode 10, Retrieval. March 1st, same date as the Mandalorian Season 3 premiere, we have episode 211, Metamorphosis. March 8th, we have episode 12 called The Outpost. March 15th, episode 13 called Pabu. March 22nd, episode 14 called Tipping Point. And finally, we have a 2-part finale on March 29th, episode 215 called The Summit, and episode 216 called Plan 99. So first reveals for our first reactions to this is, yes, I was surprised we got 16 episodes. I'm very surprised. I thought for sure they might be cutting down on the episodes. I'm also pleasantly surprised to see that they're stacking up the episodes on certain days having more than 1 episode. So, you know, it's just it's basically a 3 months worth, exactly 3 months worth of the Bad Batch here. Thoughts on this, Ben?
Well, first of all, I think we briefly talked about it in our chat this week. Basically, the Bad Batch and Mando, they're clearing the decks for Celebration. So, like, to me, that means we're going to get something big at Celebration, whether it be like a trailer or a movie announcement or something. Like, we're going to be getting something at Celebrations, I would say. So I think that's a big thing for our listeners to keep in mind. And then as for the titles, I think a lot of them fall in the 2-parter titles. Most of those sound really good. And then the other ones sound like, they could be filler titles. Like the Clone Conspiracy one is an interesting one. I was laughing so much when on March 1 when you said Metamorphosis, because that's literally like something a bug would do, and that reminded me of season 1 Infection. So I was like, oh man, are we gonna get the second part to? Is Sid gonna call? Man, I'll be very triggered if this happens. But is Sid gonna call them and be like, guys, the bugs below our sewers, they're transforming, is it gonna be literal metamorphosis in Star Wars? So it's like, gosh. Please don't
put that out in the ether, man. Don't do it.
It's like, please don't do that to me. I mean, hey, maybe that's why they're releasing that on Mando's release date, so Mando just crushes it because it's a bug. But yeah, I think it's the titles all sound really good. I know, Milton, you really like the 2-parters a lot, so it's nice, I think, for like us, they're giving us multiple 2-part episodes in this series, just because I think Star Wars needs to do that a lot more in general for a lot of these shows, whether it be Andor. Obviously, you don't need to do it with Mando because that's really, really established, but like Bad Batch specifically, keep giving us these 2-part episodes. Like, honestly, I would have just preferred us just to get 8 2-part episodes, 8 arcs, if anything, just because it's like it gives you more storytelling, gives you more time versus just like rushing something in 25 minutes. So like that was kind of like my big takeaways. I like the organization, and it's definitely interesting. Some of the titles sound really good. Other ones are like, yep, this is going to be Bad Batch season 1.
Yeah, I would say the one that stands out to me, and this is something I was hoping we would get from season 1, so it's nice to get into season 2, is the clone
Yep.
conspiracy. I fully believe, Milton, that we're going to get a clone uprising this season. I think it's happening. I think they're going to find out about something. They're going to get triggered, and that's why one of the titles is called Truth and Consequences. The clones are going to divide. It's going to be them versus the conscription troops, and that's why we don't see a lot of clones, because I think a lot of the clones will come together and get decimated, and I think it's possible that maybe even one of the Bad Batch will die in the process. So it's my little speculation on at least that one there.
Hopefully they just tell a good story. That's all I care about. I didn't know that they released the titles, honestly. But yeah, there's some sound interesting, some sound like okay, it is what it is. Like that, the last one, that 99 one, sounds pretty dope. But yeah, hopefully it's just good storytelling. That's all I care about.
Yeah, I mean, talking about that one, so we have one called The Summit, and that instantly brings to mind Mount Tantus. And what is it? What is the place called there, Ben? It's called like Wayland.
Wayland.
That was like the last scene we seen in season 1. It was like the big jaw-dropping moment. It was like, oh my gosh, this is a clear connection to the Thrawn trilogy of years past. And what could this Plan 99 be? Are we seeing like a Thrawn coming in here ordering like a unit of clones or something? And this is coming out like while Mandalorian is airing. So maybe there is going to be like, the reason why they pushed this back is maybe there is like a clear tie-in. At least that'd be really cool. Like the same day that we get this finale, like they actually acknowledge something from Bad Batch. I know I'm getting my hopes up again, but that'd be a cool synergy. I mean, if they had something.
I mean, it might, just because like the question still hasn't been answered. Where's Dr. Pershing and Mando? Like, as in where, like location wise. So I think he's at Mount Tantus. So like, that's your connection right there. Like, I really think that's where it's headed towards. So it's like you said, the summit, like that's definitely a Mount Tantus episode. You would assume, based on not even just speculating, just like based off of the last season, like they're there. They're at Wayland.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's our thoughts and our excitement for the Bad Batch. I would say it's definitely heightened because we got the episode titles a little bit. You can start to speculate. It's always fun. What's this? What's that? We can look forward to certain episodes like, hey, Metamorphosis. Maybe we won't be so hyped for that week. Hopefully we're pleasantly surprised. But there you go. Leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. But yes, we managed to get through 2 trailers, some set photos that were leaked, and even more stuff. Thanks again to Chris, who had to leave a little bit earlier. But again, his socials are linked in the comment section down below on both your podcasts, as well as if you're watching YouTube, his credentials are down there. Seek3PO on Twitter, and follow the Star Wars Underworld and Culture Slate for your latest on all Star Wars, Marvel, and more. So, what are you guys going to be up to this week? Where can the people find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter at MiltonWeber7 or Instagram at Milton7Weber. Just chilling this weekend. Honestly, this is just a weekend for me to relax. Like, honestly,
nice.
Nothing special. It's been a one long week, so I ain't doing nothing except for watching the Eagles and relaxing.
Nothing wrong with that. What about you, Ben?
Yeah, my weekend's going to be pretty chill as well. Like, I just have an early Christmas at a family member's tomorrow. I'm going to be going to tomorrow afternoon, so that'll be fun. And then other than that, just chilling, playing video games, catching up on different shows. I got to watch the new episode of Willow still. And then, yeah, I mean, nothing too crazy. Freaking out about all this stuff about DC that's going on lately. As a DC fan, I'm very worried actually right now. So we'll see how all of that goes. And then just, meal prepping and like getting things around on Sunday for next week to get back into just the normal routine like I do every week, just the normal fitness routine, meal planning, and doing that sort of fun fitness stuff. But for anybody who wants to connect with me to talk about any of this stuff on Twitter and Instagram, you can find me, same handle, at RealBenMaynard.
There you go. My 2 cents on Willow in like 30 seconds. Oh my gosh, that 3rd episode, the Battle of the Slaughtered Lamb, was it subverted my expectations. I'll say that because, oh my gosh, like there was a high body count in a Disney show, everybody. And it wasn't pretty. There was stuff in that episode where it's like, oh man, they're going for Game of Thrones in this series. I was like, I'm not even kidding. There's people getting offed left and right, like main characters too. I'm like, damn, they are pulling no punches. It's a dark episode, both figuratively and literally. It's like a very dark, stormy night, and people are just getting off left and right. There's a lot of character development in this show, and I see why that certain people have watched all like 7 out of the 8 episodes, and they were giving it rave reviews, and well, it's clearly evident why, and it's really funny because I think my mother is actually liking the show more than I am even at this point, and she is actually against fantasy stuff. And I pulled her arm to watch it with me, and she's like so invested in the show where she's like yelling at the TV like, "Get away from the guy!" You know, I know she's into it. I'm like, this is great. This is great. So Willow, if you haven't jumped on board yet, definitely recommend it. Just watch the movie first if you can. It does have a lot of entertainment in it. But as far as me on the channel, I have my reaction to Jedi Survivor, the trailer there. You can watch that for some more insight, although we went into like an hour of insight already. So there's that there. Comic book reviews coming down the line, different things like that. So that's going to do it. That's going to wrap it up. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you have any friends that are Star Wars fans and want to watch something on Friday nights, go ahead and refer us to the best of your friends and family, and also tell them you can download us on any podcast streaming app. Well, that's going to do it for Milton, for Ben, for Chris of the Star Wars Underworld, and I, myself, Chris, aka Starrapter. That's going to do it for Outer Rim Transmission number 86. Thanks for watching, everybody. May the Force be with you, and transmission.